Morning everybody, welcome back to the Cloud County Ground as we get set for this final game in the Metro Bank One Day Cup. Good to welcome our nearest and dearest from Surrey here today. As you can see, the umpires Nigel Long and Tom Lungley, along with the match referee Phil Whitticase, having their chat. We've got Nick Brown captaining for Essex today. Thrown the coin, and Dom Sibley, who's captaining Surrey, has won the toss. Dom, can I just have a quick word? I know you've been pushed into captaincy all of a sudden. Right, you won the toss. What are you doing?
Having a bowl.
Thoughts on the pitch?
Looks a good pitch. Yeah, looks a good pitch. Yeah, just see what they get and we'll try and chase it.
Now, I was going to ask you team news. Well, I know Rory's just been helped off. Hopefully that's nothing too bad, but you're going to have to make changes, I guess.
Yeah, be honest, not too sure what's going on with Rory. Hopefully he's doing okay, but yeah, we're having a bowl and we'll see how we go.
Right, I'll let you get on, but thanks, Dom. Nick Brown in charge of Essex today. Brownie, good to see you back in. What's the thought on the coin toss and what you're going to be doing?
We've lost the toss and we're batting. I think we would have batted first anyway on a used wicket. Hopefully it spins a bit later on.
Team news, I'm guessing I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so Tommy's resting. I'm coming in at the top of the order and Luke Bankenstein's sliding to 3. Other than that, same as last game.
I know we can't go any further in this competition now, but always against Surrey, there's a little bit of something extra, isn't there?
No, of course, it's always a rivalry, and they're obviously a top team, and yeah, hopefully we can get one up on them today. And yeah, it's another good opportunity for these youngsters to show what they can do, and yeah, press a claim.
Right, go and get ready, go and get padded. So, Surrey have won the toss. They are going to bowl. We will bring you team news shortly. The Essex team news is just Nick Brown in for Tom Wesley, but there are changes for Surrey. We'll let you know as soon as we got that info.
Endless fun, there's amazing shows to see. Enjoy yourself, it's all high quality. Enjoy yourself, outstanding waiting for you. Enjoy yourself, with friends old and new. Explore with us, there's stunning lands to see. Enjoy yourself, James Best Value at Sea. Enjoy yourself, James Best Value at Sea.
Pulled away, another chance of a catch. Brilliant snatch. It's short. No, there could be trouble ahead here. Wonderful start for Middlesex. Oh, what a grab.
What a grab that is.
Flicked away, chance of a catch taken. Oh, outside edge.
Hold him right on to his stumps. Is that another wicket? It is.
Fly like an eagle.
Our club has always been about the people.
And the impact we have.
We create opportunities.
We dare to dream.
About what we can achieve together.
We aim to entertain.
And we deliver results.
Our teams inspire our community.
And our community inspires us.
We work together
to push boundaries,
building a better future
for everyone.
It's our spirit that bonds us.
Our members,
our partners,
our players,
our staff,
our youth,
our community,
our county.
We are Essex.
We are the
Eagles.
Essex second from bottom, Surrey bottom, but in a way it's pressure off for this game, isn't it? It's pressure off. They can just get out there and play both sides, and it's an opportunity for some of these younger players again to sort of put their marker down, but for Surrey, sort of losing your captain just before the start of play and then having to get Krish Patel in, and he's out there at the moment in the huddle without a name and number on his shirt. So it's a big day for him, and Dom Sibley suddenly was captaining Surrey. So it'll be interesting to see the way that Surrey go. The side then, I have no idea what the batting order will be, but Dom Sibley, Ryan Patel, Ben Geddes, Cameron Steele, Josh Blake, Conor McCurr, Tommy Elam, Krish Patel, Luke Griffiths, Dan Moriarty and Amar Verdi. So again, spin dominated this Surrey bowling attack. And it will be very interesting to see how Dom Sibley sort of negotiates his way through this, because Rory Burns has sort of had to use spin throughout the competition, because the two fit quicks, really, Luke Griffiths, who's only 17, and Conor McCurr. So it looks as if it'll be Amar Verdi to get us started from this river end of the ground.
Yes, and I think the Essex attack has been similarly quite strongly spin based. It has been a curious competition. It's almost been the last one now will later be first, in the sense of you look at how some of the sides that have done well, Leicestershire for example, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, but two of those sides in particular, Leicestershire and Gloucestershire, have had miserable seasons other than this, but they've come to the fore in this competition. So yeah, very, very interesting, and perhaps it's given something for their supporters to be proud about. But anyways, it's going to be Amar Verdi to start, and we'll see how Essex go, having been put in. It's still partly cloudy, but rather like yesterday, the forecast is for the cloud just to burn off, and meant for it to be a pretty glorious afternoon. So I think that's what we would probably anticipate. So it's going to be Kushi facing up to Verdi with a twirl of the arm, just plays it nicely off the back foot through the bit of a gap at mid-on, and there is Conor McCurr to complete the fielding. And that's Essex underway. So it is going to be interesting to see how Nick Brown goes about this, because he's perhaps might have been engaged in the competition a little bit more. Some were thinking to give Essex a little bit more solidity at the top of the order, but now he's got a chance coming in as captain.
Yeah, and he's a fine player, Nick Brown. And again, it frees him up, doesn't it?
And it gives him a bit of a run out
final
before
game, absolutely. He can have a hit before the championship starts again in September. I'm just watching Krish Patel. He's in at mid-wicket at the moment.
Yes.
What a day this is for that young man.
Yeah, just on some matting at the moment, actually. That's played off the back foot by Brown for a single out towards deep cover. So, yeah, we wish him well. Must be a very big moment when he's suddenly, 10:30, it's just a day being part of the, just looking on, just part of the young players coming for the experience, and they suddenly are playing.
Yep.
2 for no wicket, a single each.
Of course, they've got to get him registered, which I think they have, obviously.
As Verdi bowls, and that's a nice delivery, and just played off the back foot by Kushi, back down the pitch, and there is no run. So, yeah, it's going to be just an interesting match in its own right, hopefully, and a decent crowd building up. Obviously not as big as it might be if there was more riding on it, but this is driven into the covers just reaching for that one a little bit, Coochie, but straight out to cover. 4 men saving the single on the offside and 3 on the leg side.
I'm just looking at the Essex side for the likes of Benkenstein, Webster, Allison, Butterman. It's another opportunity.
It is. This is just played off the back foot up towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. Ryan Patel is there.
And for Surrey, it's another opportunity for the likes of Blake and Elam and Griffiths and Patel, obviously.
And this is driven nicely wide of mid-off. That's a good shot. Got to the pitch of that, and once it was past mid-off, that was always going away for 4. So that's going to do Coochie the world of good. He'll be looking for a big score here to be looking to stake his place in that championship lineup in September. And I always have the mischievous thought, Mark, that these two sides, obviously, it wouldn't have helped Rory Burns as it's turned out, but these two sides mischievously should have just taken the field in whites with a red ball and asked the ECB to do their worst, because some of the younger players on both sides might have got more out of it.
Yeah, and obviously for both these sides, and it's completely understandable, they're already thinking about September. I think the good thing is they've got a week and a half off before the championship starts again. Fascinating little stat at the bottom of the scorecard, Mr. Gledhill. The last time here these two faced each other in a one-day game was when Mr. Napier took 4 wickets in 4 balls, including R. Ponting.
Yes,
that's a while ago. That's 2013.
I can tell you the Essex website was very much playing on its preview, quite understandably. Yes,
that's 10 years ago. So it's going to be Conor McCurr from the Hayes Close end, and Nick Brown is on strike. 6 without loss after the first over. Essex, as McCurr is over the wicket to Brown, and Brown is forward, punching up the ground. That rolls up to Dan Moriarty. Stood up there at mid-off, and there's no runs.
It's a classic case of saying it was quite an even game until a chap took 4 wickets and 4 balls, and then after that it wasn't.
Can I be totally honest with you as well?
Go on.
What I remember about the BBC Essex team that day is you'd all nipped off to get a cup of coffee.
All right.
And I was actually on my own.
Do you know, I can't remember if I was covering that.
I don't know if you were, but the BBC Essex team had all wandered off to get a cup of coffee as Napier took 4 wickets in 4 balls. So came back in, and all of a sudden Surrey were 4 down in the blink of an eye, as in comes McCurr over the wicket to Brown. Short one that just climbs on him, and he just pulls the bat inside the line. Nice bounce, nice carry into the gloves there of Josh Blake. Cameron Steele's at first slip. So Cam Steele in there at first slip. Tommy Elam in his second game for Surrey. Made his debut on Sunday in the 8-wicket defeat against Hampshire at Guildford. He's in there at backward point. Dom Sibley stood up at mid-on, in charge now, because if you're just joining us this morning, good morning to you. Rory Burns twisted his ankle in the warm-up. So Dom Sibley is in charge, and Krish Patel has come into the side for Surrey. As in over the wicket goes McCurr, and driven by Brown, and the dive from Ryan Patel. He got something on it at extra cover to take a bit of pace off it, but it's still going to go over the boundary rope and away for 4. So nicely played by Nick Brown. Just driving on the up into the turf and up again. Dive from Patel, got something on it, but it was travelling, and it's away to the boundary rope for 4 runs. A nice shot from Nick Brown, and Nick Brown has started nicely here.
Yeah, and when he gets that shot going, it's always a good sign. Nicolet Hill with Mark Church, Paul Newton today. You can contact us, bbcsexcricket@gmail.com.
I think it's going to be a lovely day. Clouds are breaking already as McCurr is in to Brown, and Brown drives straight back up the pitch. Conor McCurr gets fingertips to it. Ball ricochets away, and there is no run. So Surrey coming off the back of a 10-wicket defeat and an 8-wicket defeat at Guildford. But for both sides, as I say, it's a bit of a free hit, this. It really is. Sort of the pressure's off. Bottom against second for bottom. Sun shining, good crowding. Got a feeling we could have a pretty good game on our hands today, because as I say, for both sides, it's the last game. As in over the wicket goes McCurr, and driving is Brown thick inside edge. That potters up towards Dom Sibley. Stood up there at mid-on, and there's no run.
Yes, I thought I'd better decide to tell you who we all are here today, because I must admit I can understand the frustration when it's not clear who presenters and commentators are, because I was watching one of the Sky 100 games morning match, and the presenter never said who she was, or nobody ever said who she was. Yes. So it's one of the in vogue things to be anonymous.
Well, I quite like being anonymous.
Oh, now I've said who you are.
Normally I make at least 10 mistakes and over. As Conor McCurr is in, to Brown, and Brown off his stumps just turns this one into the leg side. Sibley gets round to do the fielding there at mid-on, and there is a single for Nick Brown. So end of the over, and a nice steady start this for Essex after being stuck in by Surrey. 2 overs gone, and Essex 11 without loss. Brown has 6, and Kushi's on 5.
So Krish Patel, wish him well, and hope we get a chance to see him bat a little bit later. It'd be some story if he makes a big impression. And I say, it's almost a shot to nothing. Essex have got a little bit out of this competition. We'll talk to Paul about it a bit later on. I would argue they possibly haven't got quite as much as they got last year, but Charlie Allison has done particularly well. And after showing some promise, he's got a couple of good scores. He'll be looking for another one today. Here is Birdie bowling, and it's just played from the crease up into the offside, and there is Patel at cover, and there's no run. So the irony is, of course, these two sides at the bottom of this table, but very much at the top of the one that we're going to be dealing with in September, with each side with 3 games to go in the championship. As this is driven away just wide of mid-off, but sufficiently wide of McCurr to allow a single. And nice stroke again, not quite the full-blooded shot there from Brown, but it's still quite a nice drive through mid-off, takes him along to 7. Kushi on 5, 12 for no wicket in the 3rd over, as Essex have been asked to bat on a morning that's still partly cloudy, but will get progressively clearer and quite warm. 30 bowls, nice breeze at the moment actually. That's just played between 2 of the onside infielders, square leg and mid wicket, out to deep square for another single. Essex just the one win. It was a game arguably they probably shouldn't have won because Middlesex imploded quite horribly, but Essex took their opportunity. And other than that, it's been a string of defeats. The one rain out at Sedbergh, as that's clipped away off the pads. Nice stroke away into the onside by Brown for a single. So looking fairly comfortable at the moment against Verdi. Not a lot in the pitch room at this stage. It
looks a good wicket.
Yeah, 14 really for no wicket.
It looks a good wicket. I'm not surprised. Well, I think with Dom Sibley, when the coin came down, Surrey's only choice was to bowl.
Yeah. As this is played off the back foot and away for another single out into the offside. Yes, one of the arguments, it might be difficult to work out, how much is a defendable score here. So that's another thing.
And the other thing is, and I don't know how it works, but they had to get Krish Patel registered.
Yes.
Now he's out there and he's playing, but it was a bit of a muddle.
As this is just slided nicely by Verdi and played by Brown again nicely through into the covers, gets another single. It's been mainly that's been the story during this over. We've had in fact 5 singles and 1 dot ball, 16 for no wicket, so it's just what you're looking for really at this stage. Kusi 7 and Brown 9. So we don't have anyone flitting in and out of the 100 in the game today. No. It's very much who was there, and it's 16 for no wicket.
Mr. Harmer was down here earlier having a bit of a twirl, just going through a bit of practice, looking ahead to September as well. But yeah, it was all a real muddle because poor old Rory Burns twisting his ankle in the warm-up, Sibley suddenly captain, and they had to get Krish Patel in. As over the wicket comes Conor McCurr, 4th over, and Brown off the back foot slaps it straight back up the pitch. McCurr gets a fingertip to it. He got hit on that hand in the Yorkshire game, Conor McCurr, so it's probably still bruised, I would have thought. And there was a little look to the heavens as he fielded it. Just a bit more on Krish Patel, 17 years of age, like Luke Griffiths, so another 17-year-old. He's in his 2nd year in the Surrey Academy and plays his club cricket at Esher. And for the under-18s this season, he scored 2 centuries and 3 50s. But he's making his one-day debut here for Surrey, his senior debut today. As Conor McCurr comes in over the wicket to Nick Brown, who's driving thick inside edge into the leg side. Should get 2 because Griffiths has got a bit of a way to come round in front of the pavilion. So 2 more to Nick Brown, not exactly where he intended, but he moves on to 11. And Essex moving on to 18 without loss, having been stuck in by Surrey today. Essex in their sort of light sky blue shirt and dark trousers. Surrey all in black today. So the one-day kits, there's been a few clashes with the one-day kits this season. I've been saying for quite a few games, were it football or rugby, one side would have had to change their kit, I think. as Conor McCurr comes in over the wicket to the left-handed Brown, who drives nicely straight up the ground to Dan Moriarty, who's doing the fielding up there. And there is no run. I saw a little bit of news yesterday from Surrey, and 3 good long-term contracts, multi-year deals being done by Dan Worrell, Jamie Smith and Tom Laws, which is terrific news because Moriarty's off to Yorkshire. He's already on loan at Yorkshire for Championship cricket. I suppose in a way this could be Dan Moriarty's last game for Surrey, unless he gets called back for those last 3 Championship games. We'll have to wait to see as Conor McCurr comes in over the wicket to Brown, and Brown flicks this off his pads neatly and tidily into the leg side. Round comes Griffiths, who's got a wonderful arm for 17. These 17-year-olds, they get bigger and bigger. 1 more to the total, and Brown moves on to 12. Essex 19 without loss. Personally, I'd like to see Griffiths get a bit more of a bowl in this game. He's sort of, in the games he's played, he's sort of bowled 3 or 4 overs, and he's got better each game. Quite like to see him have a bit of a longer bowl, but it's spin dominated again for Surrey because it's, you know, they've only really got Griffiths and McCurr as quick bowlers. Ryan Patel opened the bowling at Guildford as Kushi comes on to strike for the first time here to Conor McCurr. Now keeping Cameron Steele in there at slip. As over the wicket goes McCurr, and shot. The on drive from Kushi. Oh, what a lovely bit of cricket that is from Kushi. And I've heard a lot of good things about this lad, and I've seen him play a couple of times, but that is just a top quality shot. The on drive, very elegant. Touch of the choppers there from Mr. Kushi.
Yeah, he would have played throughout this competition, but he was injured at the start of it, and so he's only sort of come into the equation late on, and Essex certainly, I think, missed him.
He's 11 not out. 23 without loss as over the wicket goes Conor McCurr, and beats him on the outside edge. That's a nice length and line from McCurr. He's just had a fiddle at that, just reached for it a touch, did Kushi. He's then rehearsing going through cover point, but that beats his outside edge. Bit of a fiddle outside his off stump. 1 gorgeous shot in the over. 4 gone. 23 without loss. I sort of knew it might be a day like this when I arrived to find the BBC radio signs fallen off the door, Nick.
Yes, and I think we're probably going to have to put in an order for a new door. Sometimes might request a fridge or something like that, but this time it might be a door because it might not last the winter. Having a look at it there, but.
Well, you should take that with you.
Yes, it might be.
You could take it round the country with you.
It's a BBC
radio sign.
So here's Amar Verdi with a twirl of the arms. Bowls a lovely delivery there. That's beaten the defensive shot there of Brown outside the off stump. Nice to have a look at the replay. If there's any sort of turn, a bit of bounce for him there.
I don't think it did anything.
No, I just missed
Brown
it.
played through the wrong line.
Here's Verdi bowling again. That's lofted away. That's a better shot from Brown. He's got to the pitch of that all right. It's 4 or 6 up towards long on. Has cleared the boundary. Yeah, he got to that and played it away very nicely. Nobody out in the deep there at this point. The 2 deep fielders are at deep cover and deep square leg. So a good percentage shot. Got to the pitch of it, lofted it over. Patel at mid-on and away for 6. 29 for no wicket.
I think the ball before did for that. It didn't turn at all. He just tried to be clever with it. I think he's realised this is a good pitch. The next ball just walked straight down the pitch and launched it over long on for 6. And I think the ball's taken a bit of damage here. So Nigel Long, he's having a very good look at that at the moment. On the scorecard, it says it's Paul Pollard and Tom Lungley. But I'm pretty sure that's Nigel Long.
Nigel Long's one of the more recognisable.
Yes. And he tends to do quite a lot of Surrey games, does Mr. Long. But they don't like this ball now. So they're going to have to change it over. It always takes a while.
So you've got Nick Brown, who some thought might have played more in the competition. I think Tom Westley was perhaps the one who was going to do the Nick Brown type job of sort of batting long near the top of the innings, but he just wasn't in his best form. So having these two together is quite interesting because had Kushi been fit and Brown been favoured, they might well have been opening through the tournament, and they've actually made a pretty good start here. 29 for no wicket. But Kushi came in and got 50 against Kent on Sunday, so it was a good way to start after a long layoff. His last appearance before that was back on the 6th of July. Here's Brown again taking strike and just playing one off his pad straight up towards Geddes at mid-wicket, and there's no run. BBC Essex and BBC Radio London, still partly cloudy but very good forecast. Nice breeze, very pleasant at the moment. It'll be quite warm this afternoon, and decent crowd in. As I say, it's not going to be an absolute sellout by any stretch of the imagination, but a good attendance away on the public side of the ground in front of the apartments. As here Brown hits that in the air and straight to mid-wicket, and he'll be frustrated with that because there was a big score in the offing for him there. Geddes very comfortable there, reacted quickly, just taking it to his right at mid-wicket. And that's a good wicket for Verdi, because I think Brown was looking for a similar shot to the one he played earlier in the over. He didn't quite get to the pitch of that one, a bit flatter, and yeah, a very different outcome really. And Geddes just had to react, did so quick, promptly, and that is the end of Brown. He'll be disappointed with that because he was looking in good shape. He's missed a chance to have an extended spell at the crease there. He's gone for 18, Cushy at 11, and Essex sent in a 29 for 1 in the 5th.
Nick Brown's walking off and will feel like on Christmas morning when you've got the present you've always wanted and you open it up and it doesn't work.
Yes.
Or there's something missing and you've got to send it back, or somebody else takes it because it's Christmas here at the moment. On this pitch, it looks an absolute belter, and he has just flicked that straight into the hands of Geddes at short mid-wicket and goes for 18. So it's the first one for Surrey in the 6th over, but I think Brown will really feel like he's missed out there. So Benkenstein comes out to the middle to join Cushy. My first look at Luke Benkenstein. Nothing to do with Dale? No relation, do we know?
Yes, very much so. And he's, again, someone who's had injury problems. Good to see him back in the side. Just see Verdi bowling here, and that's just played from the crease out towards Patel at mid-wicket, and there's no run. But Essex have had 1 or 2 players that they'd have liked to have played from the start of this competition. Ideally Shane Snater might well have been another one. I think he would have been a regular in the side, but he's been injured, and that's a nice delivery which just beats Benkenstein outside the off stump. So son of Dale, grandson of is it Mark Benkenstein?
Yes,
that's right.
And attended Seaford College in Sussex.
Yeah.
Which Chris Adams is the master in charge of cricket. So son of, and my first look at him. But nice over that from Verdi.
29 for 1.
Yep, picking up the wicket of Nick Brown. But it does look like the sort of pitch that, as a batter, you're sitting there thinking, right, wouldn't mind having about 50 overs on this. Sometimes get it wrong, don't we? But
BBC Essex Cricket at gmail.com, and Lorna, Paul will have a look at your email in just a moment about his collection of bears, which he mentions from time to time. So we'll have a look at that when he's on the air.
As Conor McCurr runs towards us from the Hayes close end, and Cushy's driving uppishly, just between backward point and cover point. So again, he's reaching for that Cushy. I think Conor McCurr might just keep sticking the ball there, because Cushy played a beautiful on drive and it was straighter to him, but as he pushes it a little bit wider, the foot doesn't go anywhere. He's just throwing the hands at that. So he may just keep going on that length and that line, Conor McCurr. Just wonder whether Sibley might think of bringing in a gully here. I know it's early in the piece, but the way he's playing that, if you're at slip, backward point or cover point, you're on your toes. As Conor McCurr is in, goes back of a length this time. Cushy's turning this off his hips straight out towards deep backward square, and they will pick up a single. This brings Benkenstein on to strike for the first time to Conor McCurr, and Essex moving on to 34 for 1. Have you ever had that at Christmas, Nick, where you've asked for something, be it electronic or something along those lines? You open it up, you're ready to go, then it doesn't work, or there's a piece missing? That's happened to me on a few occasions, I have to say.
As recently as last year.
Really?
no, that's the same for happening.
As Conor McCurr is coming in over the wicket to the right-handed Benkenstein, and he's forward, driving into the offside. Patel does the fielding, diving away to his right, and there is no run.
It's been such a long time since we had anything remotely resembling a championship match for either of these two sides. For Essex, it was Hampshire away in July. And interesting, of course, to mention that Cushy was not part of that side, so he's not an incumbent in the championship side. So a big score here would be quite useful, just to remind everyone of his talents.
Benkenstein raises that bat high in the air as McCurr's into him, short one. It's a good quick delivery that from Conor McCurr. Benkenstein just gets inside it. It's taken by Josh Blake. There's also a very interesting, at the bottom of the scorecard, great scorecard that you get here at Essex. Essex are without Michael Pepper, Matt Critchley, Paul Waters, Sam Cook and Dan Lawrence, who are playing in the 100. Surrey are without Jamie Smith, Laurie Evans, Jamie Overton, Reece Topley, Sam Curran, Will Jacks, Jason Roy, Tom Curran, Tom Laws, Gus Atkinson, Chris Jordan, Dan Worrell. I'll add Jordan Clark into that as well, who are also playing in the 100. So it sort of shows how many are away. As over the wicket comes Conor McCurr, and Benkenstein gets the Yorker, but gets a bat on it. Played it pretty well. It squirts out into the leg side. They'll get back for two. Two more to the total. First runs for Benkenstein. He moves on to two. Essex 36 for 1. It's quite nice to sort of be commentating on a Benkenstein. I've spent so many years commentating on his dad scoring runs. Rather nice to see him out there. We've got Tommy Elam playing in this game for Surrey.
That's a good
son of Mark and grandson of Alan.
And you've got two brothers in the Essex side.
Have we?
Charlie and Ben.
As in over the wicket. Oh, it's Conor McCurr. That is an absolute beauty. Charlie Allison and Ben Allison, as that beats the outside edge. And that's nicely bowled by Conor McCurr. Yes, the Allison brothers playing in this one as well. So it's all sorts of nice family sort of links in this game, Nick Gledhill. You and I aren't related, I don't think.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I was just looking at the Essex sides in that Hampshire game. And of course, Lawrence wasn't playing. So Pepper was playing, but Lawrence wasn't. So you're thinking about what the first choice Essex side would be for the game coming up against Middlesex. It's an interesting one. Cushy probably still needs a big score here, but let's see. Driven away, that's just gone through short cover, and a single there to Cushy. Just hoping, I think, there for more from that, but it's partially stopped. They've got through for one, partially stopped by Cameron Steele.
Struck that very firmly.
He probably felt it was forewritten on that, but it was straight to Steele very quickly as well as Verdi balls, and that's picked up by Benkenstein and hit away over deep backward square leg for, I think it's a one bounce four. Wait for the umpires. No, it's actually cleared the rope for six. I'm quite sure if it had quite gone all the way, but it has, and so that's a second six of the innings and a lovely pick-up shot, and that's a fine way to go from 2 to 8. Goodness me, for Benkenstein, just picking that one up a middle of the leg and sending it away over deep backward square.
Yeah, great shot.
7th over, 37 for 1. It's this play from the crease defensively into the onside, and there is no run. So competition for places in the Essex side. Paul Walker, of course, in the equation if everyone's available. And of course, Dan Lawrence playing his last few games for Essex. 43 for 1 as that's driven away back down the ground, and there is no run. But yes, it's going to be interesting to see what the shape of the side, both sides are like in those games in September, as this is picked up and it's come away off a thickish inside edge down towards a fine leg and goes for 4. So that is a slightly fortuitous boundary because it wasn't what was intended. Yeah, looking away to hit that at least, I think, through mid-wicket, and it's come off an inside edge.
He's really got away with that. He's not even having a look here at Amar Verdi. He's just charged down the pitch at him there. He's almost yorked himself, Benkenstein.
Yeah. This next delivery, just play from the crease up into the offside. There is no run.
Well, it's a nice, solid start, this, from Essex. 47 for 1 after 7. The wicket to go, that of Nick Brown. Yeah, Surrey will be keeping their fingers crossed with Rory Burns. it's nothing too serious because they've got a week and a half until the championship starts again. So they'll be keeping their fingers crossed that A, he's okay, B, everybody from the 100 comes back fit.
Of course, we've also got to factor in those one-day games against New Zealand and Ireland, of course, in terms of the various competition number 2 sides. Anyway, bring in Paul Newton.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Yeah, because of course Gus Atkinson in both those squads for Surrey, and then Will Jackson, the T20 squad, as it's going to be Conor McCurr from the Hayes Close end to start the 8th over. He's coming in to Cushy, who drives. He's going on that line and that length again. Don't blame him at all. Cushy just goes after that. If it's on or around or just outside that off stump, he absolutely throws the hands at it. Does Cushy. Played one gorgeous on drive, but of course that was straighter to him. But he's just, if it's outside that off stump, he throws those hands at the ball. Does Cushy. And as I say, slip, backward point and cover point need to be on their toes here. As Conor McCurr coming down the hill over the wicket to Cushy. Yep, he's gone on that line again. This is good from Conor McCurr. Cushy's forward this time, but again it just squirts off a thicker edge. Rolls down towards Griffiths. As I say, Sibley may have been tempted here to stick another man in sort of in that gully position for Cushy. Because if Conor McCurr keeps banging away at that length, Cushy's hands are going to keep going at that ball, I think. But as the interesting thing is, when it was straighter, he played a gorgeous shot straight down the ground. But it just looks as if it's there, those hands are going after it. They've left extra cover wide open for him as in comes McCurr. There, well bowled, Conor McCurr. That's really good from McCurr. Sibley must be tempted to get another catcher in here for Cushy. Because as I say, on that line and on that length, it's just gone slightly back of a length there to Cushy, and again he just can't help those hands going towards it, and that one beats the outside edge of the bat. Doesn't look like he's going to let much go today, and all Conor McCurr has to do here is keep hitting that length and line to Cushy, and I think a chance will come. Dragon could come into this as well at the moment. Looks much happier when the ball's straighter to him. Waits again with that bat raised as Conor McCurr comes over the wicket to Cushy. Well bowled again, Conor McCurr. Cushy just a little bit suspect and suspicious of that delivery. Good length again from Conor McCurr. Just squirts away into the offside and there's no run. Fascinating little battle this between Cushy and McCurr. Good morning, Paul Newton.
Yeah, great to see you, Mark. We met only last Thursday.
We did, on a bridge.
I was having my usual walk in Constable Country on the Essex-Suffolk border, and who should I meet on the new Kew Bridge across the River Stour, footbridge only, than Mark.
Yes, indeed, on a walk with my partner.
Indeed, Laurie,
yeah. Lovely to see you, Paul, as Cushy just has a fiddle at this one outside his off stump. It's interesting this, Paul. You've seen a bit of Cushy. I'm just saying, anything goodish length just outside his off stump, those hands go at the ball pretty hard. Anything straight looks gorgeous.
Yes.
But he's driven at one that flew in between backward point and cover point. Conor McCurr's gone past his outside edge. Conor McCurr is just working here on or around that off stump to Cushy. And as I say, keeper, slip, backward point and cover point are on their toes at the moment as McCurr is into Cushy, and Cushy again not looking that confident, playing that quick single. The throw comes in from Patel out towards cover. It's a good over that from Conor McCurr. They pick up a single off the last ball of the over, but just the one off it, and a very, very good over that from Conor McCurr. 48 for one then, Essex, after 8 overs.
Yes, it was a very good over. He's bowled thoroughly well. He's bowled a couple of absolute beauties in previous overs today. And the one run that did come from the over after the last ball was extremely risky. It was Cushy's call, But I think if you were the non-striking batsman there, although you'd be prepared for the call, you wouldn't really be expecting it. And well done to Luke Benkenstein for actually not only answering the call, but it had been very close if the throw had hit. He might just have got in, but if I were Cushy's partner, I wouldn't have been over-enthralled with the call, because 50 overs is a long time, and Essex have a long tail, a very long tail, because they've got no option. People might say, well, it's amazing. Top two sides in the Championship are the bottom two sides in this, but it's because nearly all the top players for the two sides have been snaffled by the 100, and Surrey in particular, I think I counted 13 names.
Yeah, I just read them out. The other thing on top of that is Surrey have then picked up injuries. So Matt Dunn, Yusuf Majid, they've all picked up injuries, and then of course Rory Burns twisting his ankle in the warm-up here. So then you really are, even if you've got a deep squad, you're having to scramble a bit.
Dan Moriarty comes into the attack, slow left arm from the river end, possibly playing his last first team game for Surrey, moving on to Yorkshire. The first ball he gets a hand to, and it squirts through to mid-on, there's no run.
Yeah, he's an ambitious boy, is Dan Moriarty, and I think he knows he's going to get a lot more first-class cricket at Yorkshire.
Comes in now, bowls, and 6 here. That is a massive hit into the river. That's clean out of the ground from Cushy, who, for all that his vulnerability, successfully identified by Mark Church just around the outside off stump, nevertheless is probably one of the best players in the country who hasn't been snaffled by the 100 competition. He's a fine player, and equally happy between Championship cricket and white ball cricket, and that will take some retrieving. 54 for 1, and Cushy up to 24.
Yeah, that's a great shot. It really is. And just Moriarty just settling in. It's a ball on off stump, and he has just launched that. That's got wet, that ball. I reckon that's landed right in the middle of the river.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it'll be at the bottom of the river at the moment. So we've got another ball. This is ball 3 of this innings so far.
And anyone kayaking out there may have had a nasty surprise. This is the next ball, stumping.
Stumped.
Out, 54 for 2. Cushy done in the flight. Well bowled Dan Moriarty there, did him up like a kipper. And Cushy departs, having just hit the previous ball for 6 for 24. And I'm afraid it's a bit of a shared disease amongst the Essex batsmen that they so often get out the ball after they've just scored big runs. And Cushy is departing, holding the blade of the bat, sending signals round, I feel, in that way. Sometimes it's to dispute the umpiring decisions. Well, there was no disputing that. He was sold down the Swanee. But yeah, I'm afraid not the brightest of things to do when you've just hit a 6.
It's a brilliant bit of keeping from Josh Blake. As quick as a flash.
Yes, it was very good.
And he had quite a long way to come back as well. He's kept beautifully in the games he's played. That was a wonderful piece of keeping, and it's a clever bit of bowling from Moriarty. It goes down as a wide down the leg side, but Cushy was desperately trying to dive back in. But if you watch it again on the replay on the live stream, Blake's got quite a bit of distance to come back to the stumps, and he was as quick as a flash. It's a brilliant bit of work, that, from Josh Blake. And this is good from Surrey. Picked up a couple already, Brown and Cushy. And it means that they have 2 very good players already back in the hutch. And Cushy there will be disappointed with that. Having just popped one straight in the river, it's just been done, all ends up there, by Moriarty, and a quite brilliant bit of keeping from Josh Blake.
Indeed, as Moriarty bowls to Bo Webster. Oh, goodness me, he didn't know too much about that. He was also done in the flight, taken on the pad, no real appeals. He was well forward, tall man, Australian, Bo Webster. And here he is facing Moriarty, a very successful bowling change already as the next ball is dabbed into the offside. But no less an expert opinion than that of Graham Gooch always used to say, boundary single. don't go chasing your winnings straight away afterwards. That's when you're at your most vulnerable. And turn round here and off the outside part of the bat, not where Webster was aiming to hit it, but it goes down to mid-off for a single. He was actually looking to hit that more in the direction of mid-on.
Yeah, but I think you have to give Moriarty an awful lot of credit. Saw him coming and just put it down the leg side, and Blake was on his toes as well.
With the dismissal, yes, as here's another single down to long off, and Benkenstein with the single there, moves along to 13, score 57 for 2 at the end of a very successful bowling change over there. 9 overs have now been bowled. Surrey, putting Essex into bat, have removed both the openers, Nick Brown for 18 and Feroz Kushi for 24. I think both of them would have to feel that they contributed to their own downfall. Nick Brown had just hit a 6 and then holed out to a ball that shouldn't really have troubled him that much to mid-wicket. Just didn't get over it, simple as that. And then Kushi hits a 6 and next ball goes looking for afters, and the bowler gets his revenge.
So it's Conor McCurr to bowl the 10th over, final one of the power play from the Hayes close end. Coming into Benkenstein, is driving in the air, one bounce up towards Moriarty at mid-off. Would love to see that bit of work again by Blake on the live stream. Absolutely wonderful piece of keeping from Josh Blake, because he had quite a bit of distance to come back, and as quick as a flash he had those bails off, and Kush sort of ended up like when you're sprinting for a quick single and you're diving full length to get back in the crease, as McCurr comes over the wicket to Benkenstein, and he's forward again, driving up towards Moriarty, stood up there at mid-off with his dark coloured floppy sun hat on. Down Moriarty, Bo Webster, tall man, down there at the non-striker's end. It sounds like a 1920s matinee idol, doesn't it, Bo Webster?
It does, yes, nicely described.
Tremendous name.
Not a name you'd particularly expect to be given to an Australian.
No, absolutely not.
Tasmanian he is, and he's played a lot of big bash sort of cricket and several different versions of it.
Absolutely, he's an experienced player. As in over the wicket goes McCurr to Benkenstein, and again McCurr just hitting that length on or about the off stump. Benkenstein driving up towards Moriarty.
Yes, Webster is an all-rounder. It's generally reckoned that his batting is the stronger suit than the bowling, but he's useful at both.
He's a tall man.
He is, yeah, be good 6'2".
He's not even holding his bat at the moment. He is now, but he was sort of just leaning it against his thigh. He's sort of taken over from Paul Walter, hasn't he, as the tall member of the Essex side.
Yes, good point.
Yes, well, I've got to think about height. As here's a tall man, Conor McCurr, coming into Benkenstein. That just hops on him. Plays it pretty well, keeps it down, but it's good bowling again from Conor McCurr. It just rolls into the leg side. Up comes Dom Sibley to do the fielding at mid-on, and there's no run. Clouds are beginning to break up. We're getting blue sky. I think it's going to be a very pleasant afternoon here in Chelmsford. I got the train in this morning, and a little walk from the station here. Very pleasant it was too, past the river. Cameron Steele still in there at first slip, as over the wicket goes McCurr. Short ball, and Benkenstein's pulling. He's not in control of this at all. It's come off the toe end of the bat. It's looped into the leg side. He's going to get a couple. Might get another one of those from Conor McCurr. 2 more to the total. 2 more to Benkenstein. He moves on to 15. 6 moving on to 59 for 2.
Yes, as you say, got it just off the bottom of the bat, and fortunate, although the batsman could claim he'd surveyed the field properly, but fortunate that it fell in a big gap.
Well, there is a lot of space out there with just the deep backward square, as Conor McCurr is in, and Benkenstein, oh, that's a horrible shot, and he's caught at extra cover because he's gone again. Those hands have just gone over towards the ball. It's good bowling from McCurr. It's what I was talking about with Kushi as well. And Benkenstein, the foot didn't really go anywhere. He's just thrown his hands at it. It's toe end of the bat, and it's caught by Ryan Patel at cover. Got hands to it, and it looped up and he took it on the rebound, but when you see it again on the live stream, it's just the hands go straight through the ball, and it's caught by Ryan Patel. Surrey will be delighted with this. 3 down, Essex. Benkenstein gone for 15, and Essex are 59 for 3.
Yes, not very clever again, because only the previous ball, he'd ridden his luck hitting the ball in the air, and there's too much, bearing in mind we're still in the power play, and 3 are down, and 2 were down before he played that shot. And really, you'd have to say, if you were coaching young cricketers, you might well take them into a room, Mark, and say, now, just have a look at this, and see if you can identify where the batsmen have gone wrong. Not detracting from some fine cricket from Surrey with their bowling, but nevertheless, the Essex batsmen have very much contributed to their own downfall, and in every case of all 3 wickets that fell, there'd been an aggressive shot just before the dismissal, but rather than learn from that and say, actually, I'll get my head down and get over the next couple of deliveries, they've holed out, and it's poor cricket, it has to be said. I don't care how young a player may be, you still don't want to see him get out in a way that was utterly avoidable.
What I would say is McCurr spotted it very quickly. He spotted it with Coochie, and he spotted it with Benkenstein. Don't forget the previous ball where he went short of length to him.
Yep.
So it's good bowling from Conor McCurr.
Sorry?
Oh, you're over, old boy.
It's played out into the covers. Yes, McCurr is, I've seen him play in the Surrey Championship side, so he's not a novice. He knows what he's doing. Fine bowler. And here's Moriarty in and bowls, and this ball's played back to the bowler. And certainly, from what we've seen, or what I've just seen from Moriarty, going up to Yorkshire next season, he will be useful.
Oh, he's a top quality bowler, this lad.
Bowls now. Played out wide of cover so they can take the single here to Bo Webster. And he moves up to 2, and the score is 60 for 3. And we welcome to the crease Charlie Allison, who's really been Essex's success story in this competition. He's had innings in the 70s, in the 80s, splendid 85 at the Aegeus, and then 44 the other day. And he really has looked by far the most accomplished, actually, of the Essex youngsters coming in. Moriarty, up from the river end, bowls and driven down to deep mid-off, but it's Krish Patel there who's come in because of the injury to Rory Burns' ankle. And no run as Moriarty again. Bowls to Allison, and he turns this one into a nice gap at mid-wicket, gets a single. 61 for 3, and at the very grave risk of talking Allison out, he does play with a more measured approach than those who've gone before him here, and that's why he's got over 200 runs, while several of the others have scored, playing in most games, have scored under 100. As Moriarty is in, bowls to Webster. Webster cracks it off the back foot. It's a nice shot, late cut, genuine late cut, and that's going to go for 4. And the score moves up to 65 for 3, and there's actually nothing wrong with the Essex scoring rate here. It's the wickets column that has been their downfall. If you think of the T20 final itself against Somerset, they lost 4 wickets in the power play. Of course you want to score quickly in the power play, but there is such a thing as managing to score without losing your wickets, and it is worth making sure you've got some wickets left for the finish. 65 for 3 in 10 Essex having been put into bat.
Yeah, and the interesting thing there was it's a lovely shot from Bo Webster, and it headed down to an advertising hoarding with Hot Tub Barn on it. Now obviously other barns are available with hot tubs, but a Hot Tub Barn probably does exactly what it says on the tin. Might be a barn with a hot tub in it. So Conor McCurr to bowl the 12th over, 65 for 3, are Essex. So it's an interesting start, this. Wickets and runs always makes it fun. Allison's on strike as McCurr's into him, and Allison just turns this one into the leg side. Sibley comes round from mid-on to do the fielding, and they'll pick up a single. So that moves Essex on to 66 for 3. Allison moves on to 2. Webster comes on to strike on 6. cut-off time is 2:30. So 2:30 is the cut-off time. Tell you what, the intervals seem to get shorter and shorter in this competition.
They do, don't they?
You sort of you sit down for a bit of a break at half time, and by the time the kettle's brewed and you've made your cup of tea, they're all back out there again. There's no bad thing getting on with it, but they seem to get shorter and shorter, the interval. McCurr is over the wicket to Webster, and Webster's pushing out into the offside, and Tommy Elan does the fielding down on his knees, and there's no run. So Webster 6, Allison 2. McCurr into his 6th over, 1 for 23. Has been very good, I think, today from that Hayes close end. Dan Moriarty having a bit of a natter to him. Tom Sibley captaining Surrey in this one. I think it's Sibley's first time in charge of Surrey in the absence of Rory Burns. As over the wicket comes McCurr, and Webster waits for this and plays it off the back foot. Such a tall man. Webster just sat on the back foot and just pushed that one away into the offside. Ben Geddes all the way out there at deep backward square. Of course, they can get 4 out now because we're into the second power play. But they're keeping Cameron Steele in at slip. I'm not surprised with the way that Conor McCurr is probing away just outside that off stump of the Essex batters at the moment. Good stuff this from McCurr. Runs towards us, comes in over the wicket to Webster, who's driving. It's off a thickish outside edge, I think, but it's flown away through the covers for 4. Sibley's hands are on his head, McCurr's hands are on his head. I think they thought that could be flying towards backward point, but as it is, it's gone off through the covers for 4 runs. But I'm not quite sure it's exactly where he intended, but it's away for 4 for Bo Webster.
Yeah, there's been enough shots that haven't gone where the batsman intended today to suggest that there is a little bit of movement out there.
10 to Webster, 70 for 3 Essex. We're racing along in this game at the moment. Can't take your eye off it for a second as McCurr is in and Webster drives, and that's a better shot. That beats the dive of Ryan Patel. He meant that one. Just slightly over pitched by Conor McCurr, and Webster just punches that past the diving Patel at short extra cover. That whistles off to the boundary rope for 4. Nicely played, that one by Bo Webster. You can see why Conor McCurr keeps getting the ball there, but that one he was all over was Webster. He's on to 14. Essex move on to 74 for 3.
Yep, it does show that there's a lot of runs to be had out there if you don't throw your wicket away and keep the ball as much as you can on the ground, because there's plenty of gaps in the field, and I know we're just out of the power play now.
McCurr's in, short ball. Webster just sways inside it. He was probably expecting that after just being driven twice for consecutive boundaries. Conor McCurr, 12 gone, 74 for 3 Essex. I'm enjoying this at the moment. There for everybody. Runs, wickets. Entertaining stuff. Sorry, Paul.
So quite all right. We've heard from Lorna Piper to BBC Essex Cricket at gmail.com, and Lorna says, "Hi Paul, I've heard you mention your bears a couple of times." Yes, Chuffy, Sooty and Ted are all here, and Lorna says, "I have 2 Essex mascots which come with me to matches. Reggie the hippo," and she encloses photographs of same. Arrived in July 1979, a very significant date in Essex history, and so became the first mascot for obvious reasons. He has seen Essex at about 50 different grounds, more, but first here's Moriarty, slow left arm from the river end. Bowles, nice shot from Charlie Allison, nicely fielded in front of us. And that's McCurr there, and there is no run, a slight misfield, and not the best of throws, but even so, there's no run. Score remaining 74 for 3. Moriarty is on his way in again. Bowls to Charlie Allison. Allison goes on for the back foot and chops it for a single out to deep cover, 75 for 3, and Allison has 3. And Lorna continues, Fletch the bear arrived in 2016 and my sister knitted him a jumper after the 27 championship win. In the attached photos they are on the benches at Chelmsford and also meeting the Essex bear in the museum. Moriarty bowls, and this is a single to Webster down to long off, and he moves along to 15.76 for 3. The next visit to Chelmsford will be on the 4th of September, says Lorna, for the Middlesex game and the Life Members Lunch. Yes, lovely stuff, Lorna. Thank you very much. I share your passion for the mascots, as here is Moriarty and bowls, and it's flat batted by Allison. Not a particularly conventional way to play the shot, but it's all along the ground. It's no danger to him. He moves up to 4. The score to 77 for 3.
Yep, and threw his hands at that, did Allison. Nicely played. Well, there you are. Is he taking a hippo with you since
Yes.
1979?
And next one, false shot here from Webster, who thought he was going to square cut it.
I have a slightly sad story about teddy bears. My teddy bear when I was little was called Paulie, and he was a lovely little bear. And you know, the bear I took everywhere with me.
As Moriarty's in bowls, and they're going to go through for a very quick single. Shy comes at the bowler's end, hits, but Webster's long since home, and the score remains at 7. It doesn't remain. It moves up by 1 to 78 for 3, and that takes Webster up to 16, and Allison has 4. Risky single, but they got away with it. There was a similar case to that earlier in the day when the throw didn't hit, but that was good work from wicketkeeper Josh Blake, who's done so well here this morning, hitting the stumps after removing his right wicket-keeping glove.
Yeah, great bit of work. Got his glove off quickly and got the throw away. So Cameron Steele coming into the attack to replace Conor McCurr with his leg breaks. McCurr 6 overs, no ends, 1 for 31. But yes, so Paulie, my teddy bear, and then we went on a family holiday, Paul Newton, got all the way back, flights and everything, got back, and I'd left Paulie in America.
I thought you were going to say...
And I was devastated.
I thought you were going to say become poorly, but...
No, I left him. I'd left him in America. I was absolutely devastated. Devastated.
I should think he was as well.
Yeah, well, you never know. He could have been taken to a better home.
Yes.
You never know.
It's hard to think that there could have been a better home than yours. But
well, I don't know about that. As Cameron Steele to bowl the 14th over, his first with his leg spin, and he's coming into Webster, who's forward and pushing this one away into the leg side. He's bowled very nicely in this competition, Cameron Steele.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was anywhere but where Webster was aiming that shot. He was looking to push it into the offside, and a little bit fortunate, although it went all along the ground through a nice gap at mid-wicket for the single. But bowler, basically a moral victory to the bowler, that.
Well, he's got a wicked googly, Cameron Steele. I think that was it straight away. As over the wicket he comes to Allison, and Allison has a cut at one that bounces on him. Beats the edge, nicely taken again by Blake.
Yes,
he has looked great today, Josh Blake, hasn't he?
Yeah. There are some very good young wicket keepers around.
We're blessed in this country, aren't we? As in comes Steele again. And that one now. Blake takes off the bails as he's pushed forward at that. He's gone past his edge.
The big thing, of course, for a promising young wicket-keeper, no matter how good you are, you have to be able to bat if you're a wicket-keeper now.
Well, Josh Blake can bat.
Well, then, I've never seen him, but yeah, that's great.
Good player. There's a quicker ball, this from Cameron Steele, just pushed off the back foot by Allison up towards Dan Moriarty. Stood up there at mid-off.
Nice to see. One of the good things about the 50-over competition, nearly every side I've seen has plenty of overs of spin.
Yes, Surrey haven't got much choice. They've only got really Conor McCurr and a bit of Luke Griffiths. As in comes Cameron Steele, and that turns. Now, Allison, to me here, doesn't look comfy against the leggy. And that one he's looking to cut. He might try another googly hit. Allison here just doesn't look terribly comfy against Cameron Steele. As Steele is in to Allison, and he Cameron Steele gone, dragged it on. Allison, he's pushed it wider, and Allison has gone for the big drive and has got a thick inside edge on it. I'm wondering again whether that was the googly.
I think it probably was.
Yeah, and it sort of said try it to him because he just did not look comfy. He's gone after that, and he's got a big inside edge straight back onto his stumps, and this is good from Surrey. Allison goes for 4, bowled by Cameron Steele in his first over, but he only faced 5 balls of Steele there, and he just did not look comfy at all there, Allison. And he goes for 4, and he scored some runs in this competition, Allison, so Surrey will be very, very pleased to get rid of him early. That's the end of the over. 14 gone, the end of me. Paul Newton to pick up commentary, 79 for 4, and in a moment you'll be joined by Nick Ledhill.
Well, 14 overs gone and already 4 wickets down. I think it's 15 overs. No, it is 14. 4 wickets down already. This game may not go a great deal into the later stages of its intended duration, because Essex have gone about this as if it were a T20 game. And Charlie Allison, who's played so well hitherto, for once, it's not a case that he was caught, unlike the other 3 batsmen out before him. Well, of course, one of them was a stumping. But again, he'd had sufficient difficulty in that over to suggest he really should have been getting his head down and just settling for getting to grips with what the ball was doing from Steele. But instead, he went for a flamboyant drive, thinking that it was going to be another leg break. And it was a googly. Took the inside edge and into the stumps, and that's a key dismissal, because Charlie Allison was easily the man who got scores high enough in this competition to suggest that Essex might yet set Surrey, who themselves have been struggling, a reasonable total to chase. But I'm afraid it's a bit like lemmings over the cliff here, Nick.
Yep, a bit of work to do for Essex now.
And Moriarty's in and bowls, and Webster steers it into covers. Big responsibility for Webster now. There's no run there.
Yes, I saw his one significant contribution, which was at the Aegeus Bowl. Played very nicely, and it was nice to interview him at the end as well.
Moriarty. This one's dug out into the offside. 79 for 4. Yes, don't forget though that he actually got more than that at Kibworth.
Yes, he did.
Got 85 and 44 in the previous game.
Yeah, that
would have been rather useful today if he got 44, as the next ball is played to backward point and there's no run there. And at the moment, the slow left arm of Moriarty and the leg spin, complete with or including googlies from Cam Steele, are having Essex tied up in knots. No pun intended, as here is Moriarty, bowls, is cleverly bowled, and the non-striking batsman, Noah Thain, Thain, wanted a single there, but it was never there, and Webster quite rightly sends him back, as Moriarty's in bowls, and this ball's nicely played through the covers, and they get a single and score along to 80 for 4.
Yeah, talking of tied up in knots, knots are tied up in knots, because in the probably the big game in the group today, Notts 24 for 4 against Lancashire, and if Lancashire win, they will qualify. Talk about more about the permutations, but they're very well placed.
Yeah, they look a very strong side. Next ball is played to the same fieldsman on the deep cover area. It's a much longer boundary to our left than to our right, the pavilion side to the right, and so the fieldsman out at deep cover is about 20 yards in from the boundary, and that is Ben Geddes out there. So that's the end of the over. 15 gone, put into bat. Essex, good runs on the board for the number of overs that have gone, going along at over 5 and over, but disastrous loss of wickets by this stage, bearing in mind there's 35 overs to go and they're 4 down with 80 on the board.
He got 30. He got 37 against Leicestershire. I thought I hadn't remembered that one, Paul. He's got lots of scores in the 20s and 30s, Webster, but he got 73 that game, the one I saw against Hampshire.
I was talking about Allison.
That explains it, because I was talking about Webster. Webster. That was the one significant innings he played, and it was very well worth watching. The Allison, I think he got big runs in the game after the Southampton one,
right.
didn't he?
Yeah, Leicester.
So 81 for 4 it is. Now, and that's just played defensively up into the offside. We've seen a lot of spin bowling in this competition, and Noah Thain, let's see what he can do. But spin has very much been to the fore, and therefore the overs have rattled by fairly quickly. It's Cameron Steele from the Hayes close end bowling. Oh, that one does turn. That's a nice delivery, and it's just played off the back foot. and it runs down towards short third man, and there is no run. Tommy Elam playing his second match for Surrey, completes the fielding there. And here is the next delivery, which is just played from the crease, just coming forward there, just played by Thane up into the offside, and there is no run. So far the young Essex batsmen have occasionally taken their opportunities. Allison's been missed out a bit today, we think. Can Thane take advantage as he just comes forward to that, just plays it defensively back down the pitch. A nice battle at the moment.
Yeah, I think you saw Thane make 75 at Kibworth. Oh, of course,
that was yes. I think that's his main contribution, isn't it?
But of course, you weren't doing that particular game. That was Dick.
That's Dick, yeah. So they've sort of come and gone a bit, haven't they?
That's right.
They've all made some contribution. That's the good thing, as this is played just into a gap, into the offside for a single. I would still say, Paul, there's plenty to talk about today with looking ahead to the championship, looking back on this competition and other cricket issues. There's quite a lot going on, which we'll work through during the day. But perhaps in this little segment, we can talk about. I would say they haven't quite got as much out of this competition this year, Essex, as they did last year.
No, quite right, or the year before.
Yeah, where I thought last year, after a similar disappointing start, they actually did pretty well. 82 for 4. Here's Steele again, comes into bowl, and that's played by Webster, just back down, which what a very good over that was. And yes, the Surrey spinners doing well. And just a reminder that Rory Burns certainly twisted his ankle at the very least and had to be helped off in the warm-up. And Krish Patel's been registered to play for Surrey, says the Surrey website. And he's in his second year in the Surrey Academy and plays his club cricket for Isha. And he's been with the Surrey under 18s. He's scored 2 centuries and 3 50s in over 700 runs for them this year. So well done to him. He's inadvertently got into the side today, and we'll see how he goes a bit later. 82 for 4.
Moriarty to continue, slow left arm from the river end. Cloudy at the moment, but very pleasant afternoon with a nice breeze. And this ball is played down the pitch. I'm just entitled to call it afternoon because it's just gone midday. 82 for 4 on the board. Plenty of runs for Essex, but far too many dismissals in the wicket column already. 4 down. 82 for 4 in the 17th as this next ball is manoeuvred out just past the infield inside the circle on the offside and out to deep cover for a single, and the score moves along to 83 for 4, and Thane moves up to 3. Moriarty will bowl to Bo Webster, who's made 18 and bowls now, and Webster off the back foot hits it firmly and beats short extra. They've taken 1, it's going out towards the boundary, and they can come back for 2 before the throw comes in, and the score 85 for 4 and Webster along to 20.
Yes, and so he played very nicely at Southampton, just missing that sort of second big contribution, which I'm sure he would have liked to have made. Perhaps it might come today.
Moriarty bowls, ball played back to the bowler. On the subject you were just mentioning, Nick, 2 years ago Josh Rymel was in tremendous form, got 300 runs for, near as damn it in the competition that year, including a brilliant 100 in the quarter-final here against Yorkshire, and sadly he's just lost all confidence at the moment as the next ball's played to short mid-wicket. There's no run. 85 for 4. Josh Rymel, who began opening the batting in this competition, but I'm afraid was dropped after several failures. And last year I thought Jamal Richards looked a tremendous prospect, but he too has had a disappointing campaign this time around. Hopefully both of them will get back to former heights. Next ball played out into the covers for no run, a dot ball. Cameron Steele, the fielder there, will simply hold on to the ball, take his hat off and present it to the umpire. So Essex put into batter 85 for 4 with the men out. Brown for 18, Cushy for 24, Benkenstein for 15, all of them, I'm afraid, contributing to their own downfall, as really did Charlie Allison, who was bowled for 4. Wickets for McKerr, Moriarty, Birdie and Steele.
So, there's a lot of spin, so we're getting through the overs quickly. Thane on strike again, and that's a nice piece of bowling, nice flight there. First ball of the new over from Steele, and beating him outside the off stump. So certainly bowling pretty well here. Steele 1 for 2 from 2 overs and 1 ball, and Surrey spinners at the moment doing the job. So Webster's been reasonably consistent without obviously getting too many big scores. Same with that one good contribution. One's left alone outside the off stump. Going into this game, Allison was clearly the leading run scorer on 250. Webster 191, Battleman 129, and Wesley 125. Not playing in this game, Tom Wesley. Noah Thane had made 96, but most of them in that one innings that we were talking about, as he plays off the back foot here and misses. Goes through again to Blake behind the stumps, who's kept well so far. There's a slip in. There's a short third man, a cover, a mid off, a mid on, a short mid wicket, a short fine leg, and a deep mid wicket. So Surrey very much keeping the field up here, as they can do, as that's played off the back foot into the offside, and there's no run. They've got more men inside the circle than they need to have, but of course in this particular position they're quite entitled to do that. 85 for 4 in the 18th, Essex, after being sent in, and as Paul was alluding to, the theme has been Essex rather giving their wickets away, often after playing big shots. As his steel bowl, and it's a nice piece of bowling, and just reaching forward for that nice piece of keeping as well there from Blake, because he's whipped off the bails, but Thane stretching forward, but his back foot remained entrenched.
Yeah, he's got brilliant reactions and great hands, Josh Blake.
Yep, started off very well. So now just got the 5 men saving one, and the slip, as that's driven through the gap that's been created at mid-on, goes up towards long on, and a single to end the over, but still another very good one from Cameron Steele. 3 overs, 1 for 3, and we are rattling through these overs here. No doubt about that. 18 overs on BBC Essex and BBC Radio London. It's Essex 86 for 4, and as I say, very much Surrey's morning so far.
Well, it's imperative from an Essex point of view that they get their heads down and make sure they bat for the 50 overs. That if you could know they'd do that, you'd say, well, you know, Surrey too have a much weakened side, so Essex, if they scored 200 in the end but batted out the 50 overs, wouldn't be without some sort of chance. But if and these two, to be fair, the first pair who have tried to get their heads down, as here's Moriarty, bowls, and this ball's nicely played but very well fielded at backward point, so there won't be a run there. And that's a sprawling stop by Ryan Patel at backward point. 86 for 4, and so the scoring rate has slowed down, but in many ways you can say that's actually a good thing, as this ball, oh, goodness me, it is smashed back and would have gone for 4, but hit the stumps at the bowler's end. Appeal, because I think Moriarty might just have got fingertips to that, and technically, if you wanted to be cruel, you could say he should have caught it, because it was at round about thigh height to the bowler there. But anyway, Webster hadn't left his ground, and score remains 86 for 4. Sun to come out, and Moriarty will bowl again to Noah Thane, who can give the ball a good clout. This time he just plays it nicely out to deep square leg. There's no run. Elsewhere, Kent 78 for 2 in 15 against Hampshire. Yorkshire 52 for 3 against Middlesex in 15 overs. Notts are 33 for 4 against a very strong Lancashire side. Those are the two sides who Essex played in the first 2 games of this competition. It's a very nice square cut from Webster, only brings him the 1 run out to Geddes on the cover boundary. 88 for 4, 21 to Webster. Somerset are 95 for 2 against Derbyshire in the 32nd over. Goodness me, they must have started early there. Northampton's 110 for no wicket, as this next ball is played down the pitch against Glamorgan.
Yeah, Somerset, Derbyshire, 19th over. There must be some sort of misprint there. But, yeah.
So Moriarty again bowls, and that ball will again be played out to Geddes for a single. 89 for 4, and Thane has 6, but this is exactly the right approach from this 5th wicket pair. They're keeping the ball on the ground, they're just picking up the singles, and if they can be there in 10 overs time, then they can maybe start to accelerate.
So Leicestershire, top of the group by 2 points, have already played out. Hampshire, if they win by a big enough margin against Kent, could overtake Leicestershire, and that will put them straight into a home semi-final. And behind them, say if Lancashire beat Notts, and they look very much on course to do that, they will qualify. If they don't, it's between Notts and Kent. Kent, the holders, who've got a very poor net run rate after that, 264 run defeat by Leicestershire, quite remarkable.
Yes.
And they're still in contention. 89 for 4, and here's the very impressive Steele bowling, and Thane comes down the pitch and checks his shot. I think Blake's eyes were lighting up a little bit there as he did that, but in the end he just played it out to cover, and there's no run. So yes, it's looking like Lancashire. I must admit, when I went on to around the wicket after about 2 or 3 games, I didn't fancy Essex's chances. Thane is trying to play that one through the covers expansively, but he plays and misses. A bit of turn as well as it goes through to Blake. So I fancied Hampshire, Leicestershire, Notts and Lancashire, 3 of those 4. It might turn out to be that. Certainly we know that Hampshire and Leicestershire are going through. Those 2 sides have dominated the group. As this one, it's a beautiful piece of bowling, appeal for a stumping, lovely piece of bowling, just held that back a bit, and Thane played and missed it, and the bail's whipped off. But I have to say that Steele at the moment very much got the better of the youngster, causing him a few problems. Just have to be patient here, and just rotating the strike for singles is probably better than playing the big shots at the moment.
Absolutely.
Here's Steele again from the Hayes close end. He bowls, that's on the pads of Thane. He just comes forward and plays up into the offside, and there is no run. In the other group, Warwickshire have dominated it. Of course, they're the only test ground in that group. It's a rather uneven mix. I think if you count the Aegeas as a 7th test ground, 6 of them in one group and 1 in the other. Warwickshire have dominated that group. As this is played, that's a nice shot from Thane up towards mid-off, and there is no run. Basically, if Gloucestershire win today, they've already, the 3 qualifiers are already known, but if Gloucestershire win, they will get go into the home quarter final at the expense of Worcestershire. We'll keep an eye on that later on. 89 for 4, and this is played from the crease up into the offside, and there's no run. I mean, just saying, Paul, 2 sides have had, well, one side had a particularly miserable season, Gloucestershire. They might get something out of it in this competition. Leicestershire have done okay in the Championship, and actually that 2nd place in the Division 2 is still wide open, isn't it, behind Durham. But obviously they've always looked a bit like the Leicestershire side from 20 years ago in this competition. Yeah. 89 for 4.
It's the consequence, of course, because they've had such a dismal season in the Championship and T20. Very few calls have been made on their best players, who now become, of course, altogether more empowered, because nearly all the best players from other counties are no longer available, to the likes of Essex, Surrey and Somerset, and so we could go on. We'll bring Mark Church in at the end of this over to join Nick Gledhill, but here is Moriarty beginning the 21st over, and that's very nicely played by Webster. Fieldsman herring round the boundary, might just about cut it off. They've taken 2, they're going to come back for a 3rd. Good bit of retrieval from Geddes, and score to 92 for 4 with a threesome there, and that's the first shot that's produced more than a single really for quite some time, as Webster goes up to 24, and Thane, who looks very uncertain out there, but he's still there, importantly for Essex, as he faces the next delivery from Moriarty, and he'll pick up 1 run to Geddes. Deep cover, 93 for 4 and 7 to Thane.
Yes, one theme, of course, of this year's 50-over competition is that players have been allowed to go to and from the 100 when they're not required by the 100 franchises, but something I might just mention after this ball,
which Moriarty bowls, and Webster just from an inside edge will pick up a single into the mid-wicket region, 94 for 4.
But in the case of Michael Pepper, I thought he was almost having to impress London Spirit while he was playing for Essex, but almost playing at a T20 pace.
Yeah, no, well, that's Michael Pepper, isn't it? As this ball is driven down to long on for a single, 95 for 4. Yes, it was Pepper who last year, and he did do very well for Essex in the white ball game, but he was 3 times out the ball after he'd hit a 6. Yeah. And if only someone in the Essex dressing room would just say, when you've hit a 6, go on the defensive for the next one. Just see if you can push a single and keep it on the ground as the next ball's played for no run into the covers. And Cameron Steele feels. Steele has really got the Essex batsman guessing at every delivery of his, and usually not guessing correctly, as this next ball is thumped away, and that one may even go all the way to the boundary. It has done, and that was beautifully picked up on that occasion by just checking who that was with that shot. I'm busy looking one way and the other.
I think it's Webster.
Yeah, it is Webster.
That one, yeah.
29 to him, 8 to Thane, 99 for 4. And Paul Newton here making way for Mark Church to join Nick Gledhill.
Yeah, it's thick and fast actually. Not too much to chat between the deliveries, but the point we're just making that someone like Michael Pepper was almost having to serve, if you like, two employers, because the requirements of London Spirit in a T20 or even 100 scenario, even less than 20 overs, somewhat different, I guess, in a 50-over scenario where you can make a fast start, but you ideally want someone then to go on and play, make a big 100. So it is tricky. It has been nice, that flexibility, but it has to perhaps, just on occasions, cause one or two dilemmas. But anyway, it's been very good from the Surrey spinners and Steele bowls. That's lofted away. That's a good shot from Thane, and he'll be delighted with that because he's picked up Steele, who has been causing him a few problems, and he's hit him over mid-off and all the way for 6. What a lovely clean strike, and that's going to do his confidence a world of good, because he's certainly been coming off second best so far in that tight exchange between him and the spinner. But he's gone down the pitch to that one, and he's hit it very, very cleanly, and a splendid stroke, and the Essex 100 is up, and that has just ruined Steele's figures a little bit. 105 for 4 as he bowls again, and Thane, that's back to how it was. Thane playing the aggressive shot, trying to get onto the back foot, hit it through the covers and playing and missing, but he certainly middled the last one, Mark.
I think he's guessing though.
Yeah.
I think he middled.
Playing by numbers a bit.
I think he is. I think he cannot pick Cameron Steele at the moment.
He's got one away, but he is struggling a little bit with Steele, and this is played defensively, just going down just for forward and just playing it up into the covers, and there's no run. But 105 for 4. Webster, who's really needed in this situation with his relative experience compared to many of the others, 29, and Thane on 14. Perhaps a bit fortuitous, but he's still there, and he faces up, and he goes down the pitch again, hits this just over the head of mid-off. He didn't quite get that, but he's going to get it away for 2 bounces to the straight extra cover boundary for 4. Again, just to go back to what Mark was saying, he didn't really pick that, but he did get it over mid-off's head, and has got it away for a 4 to follow over 6 earlier in the over. It's 109 for 4 on the 22nd.
Well, it's fair enough. If you're not picking him, if you're going to do that, you've got to be absolutely committed, and he's completely committed to the shot. I think he's better off doing that than trying to defend it at the moment.
As here is Steele again, and that's pulled. On just short of mid wicket. I think that's just bounced short, but it was certainly a very ungainly shot. He was in at least 2 minds there, Thane. In the end, he played a rather awkward-looking pull shot, and I think it's just bounced short of the man at mid wicket.
Yeah, I think it almost got to McCurt.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get to him.
But again, defeated by the turn there. That was a better shot there from Thane, getting to the pitch, hitting it along the ground straight to mid-wicket. But strange to say that it's a moral victory for the bowler when we've had 10 runs from the over. But at least Thane can be proud of that first stroke he hit. At least it was a really nice clean strike, and he certainly improved his strike rate in that over. He's gone to 18 from 33. He had been scratching around a little bit. Webster 29 from 31 is very important to Essex now. 109 for 4 after 22.
Yeah, and Luke Griffiths is coming into the attack. So into the attack comes the 17-year-old Luke Griffiths. He's bowling beautifully, Cameron Steele. He really is. But I think, fair play to Thane, I think if you're not picking the spinner, then if you're going to come down the pitch, you've got to be absolutely committed to the shot. And he has been on both occasions. Even the second one, he didn't really get hold of it, but he was committed to what he was doing. If there's any indecision there, he's going to be on his way. So, Luke Griffiths, who's impressed me in the games he's played. He's got a bit about him. He's only 17. He's a tall lad. Gets it down there at pretty good pace. And he's going to be bowling to another very tall gentleman in the shape of Bo Webster. 23rd over, 109 for 4. Essex. Griffiths from the river end is into Webster, who's up on his toes. Oh dear, and Griffiths has tumbled over in his follow through. So the last thing they need now is Luke Griffiths getting an injury. He's okay. He's back on his feet. And Bo Webster picks up the single. And Webster's played nicely so far. 30 from 32 balls. Thane comes back onto strike on 18.
I saw his one sort of significant contribution down at Southampton, where he shared a big partnership with Simon Harmer. Wasn't enough to get Essex over the line, but he played very nicely there.
Turns does Griffiths below us. Right arm over the wicket he comes, and that's short, and Thane will jump all over that and pulls it away for 4. So banged in by Griffiths, and Thane lots of time. He had to really wait for it actually, and pulled it away out towards the mid-wicket boundary, just in front of the famous pavilion here at Essex. The benches with the members sat down there. A lot of them wearing the same hat, I've noticed, in front of the pavilion today, as Griffiths comes over the wicket, and this one Thane punches off the back foot straight out towards Geddes, who's sweeping on the cover boundary rope, much like your hat, Nick Gledhill, away to our right, which is of a Panama variety.
Might be having to wear that later on if it gets very warm in here. But yeah, I mean, most of Thane's runs have come in one innings, but if he can just consolidate with a second decent score here, you'll feel he's got something out of this competition.
Griffiths over the wicket he comes to Bo Webster. Webster's forward, that's a good length ball. Webster just pushes this straight back up the pitch. Griffiths does the fielding off his own bowling, and there is no run.
And Mick Marshall on our email says, as no senior players play 50 over cricket, are we going to get a similar situation to this tournament in the upcoming World Cup, where most players are playing with 2020 mentality? That's going to be interesting, and of course Indian conditions, of course, to be thrown into the equation there. Turning pitches.
Griffiths over the wicket he comes, and Webster on the up slams this away through extra cover for 4. That's a good shot from Bo Webster. Just a little bit of width on that from Luke Griffiths, and Webster just stands up straight and hammers that through extra cover for 4. So expensive start this for young Luke Griffiths, but he's learning all the time in this competition. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that none of the England 50 over squad are actually playing in this competition. As Griffiths comes over the wicket to Webster, that's well bowled, gets it up there, and Webster's forward and pushes this one out towards Cameron Steele at extra cover. End of the over, 23 gone then, and stuck in by Surrey. Essex are 119 for 4, with Webster on 34 and Thane on 23.
Yes, it's going to be interesting how that competition goes. It's a very interesting point, that about whether we might get lots of sides not managing to bat out the 50 overs. 50 overs, I think, feels like quite a long time to bat when you're used to playing T20, and that certainly was an issue for Essex earlier in the competition when they were knocked over inside 35 overs by Yorkshire after making very much a T20 style start. But yeah, this is, I think, a crossroads for 50 over cricket now. It's going to be fascinating to see, you know, how successful this World Cup is. I think we can say that it's not been deemed as top priority by the BCCI. I think perhaps the Premier League is rather more important. There's been a lot of chopping and changing of times and venues and dates, and tickets going on sale quite late. But how successful a tournament will it be, and how much 50 over cricket are we going to see after it, I think is quite fascinating. Will we see rather less 50 over bilateral 50 over cricket as Steele bowls, and this is driven away up towards long off for a single? And of course we're now gradually getting into a situation with emerging England players like Harry Brook having very little 50 over cricket behind them. I'm not sure that counted against him in that selection dilemma, because it was a very, very tight call as to who you leave out to get Ben Stokes in. We'll get your thought on that, Mark, in a moment. But 120 for 4, single to Thane brings Webster on strike. A tall Bo Webster on 34 from 35, and he comes forward, just plays that into a gap. But in fact, nice piece of work there, prevents the run from Conor McCurr. Just a backward point, alert there. There's a thought of a single, but it wasn't there.
Yeah, Arjun Gill is out there as 12th man at the moment, because Tom Sibley's just nipped off during this over.
So here is Steele, 1 for 14 in 5.2, as that's just played away. Oh, this time it goes through McCurr, who is down on his haunches and looks quite uncomfortable. It's a single. He's okay.
He's had this hand.
Ooh,
since
yes, he's hit
his
he's wrapped that right hand.
Yeah, that was the one that got hit during the Yorkshire game off his own bowling.
Possibly landing awkwardly as he attempted the piece of fielding
it's
there.
all right, but every time it goes anywhere near that right hand, it hurts.
He's gone to slip as here Steele bowls, and just reaching for that as he backs away. Webster plays it away out towards deep cover for a single. Yeah, just get the feeling that 50 over cricket very much at a crossroads now, and one suspects this tournament will probably stay where it is for the next few seasons, because clearly the ECB don't really have any alternative, certainly while the 100 continues, and over the next at least over the next 4 years or so. And this is played defensively up into the offside. Again, nice bowling from Steele, who was expensive in his previous over, but that was, I say, Thane having a bit of a charge, and certainly on one occasion at least, very much getting away with it.
Well, it sort of sums up, I think, how the ECB felt about this tournament, in the fact that, as I say, none of that England World Cup squad or who were playing in the one-day internationals.
Yep. So this is played on the bounce and fielded off his own bowling by Steele, and there is no run. 122 for 4 after 24 overs. In an ideal world, of course, we go back to having this 50 over competition sometime around about May, the group stage. Obviously you'd lose your IPL players, but you'd have obviously more players available, a sort of greater strength and depth in the competition. And it worked pretty well there for a few years, didn't it, back in the middle of the last decade, with a final in the middle of a summer. But obviously as time goes on, you will get less and less exposure to 50 over cricket, particularly in England, for England's top players.
Yeah, and as I say, none of them are playing in this competition. Luke Griffiths starting this, the 25th over from the river end, coming into Thane, who's driving nicely out towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope. Yeah, look, if Ben Stokes makes himself available, he has to play. He's not going to bowl any overs, but personally, if I was in a semi-final or a final and I needed 120 to win, and Ben Stokes walks out to bat, I'm backing my team to win, because he's one of the best chasers there is. So he had to go. He's not going to bowl any overs, but he's going to play as a batter. As in comes Griffiths, and Webster's forward and drives out towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope, and they'll pick up a single, one more to the total.
And England want to back that Roy Bairstow combination. See, Jason Roy, I think, in better form than he was a year ago. Perhaps still not quite at his best consistently, but I think they're backing his experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Is it 9 members of that squad won it last time?
Yes.
So it doesn't.
Consistency.
It does help having people who've done it before. As in over the wicket goes Griffiths. Oh, that beats the outside edge as Thane looks to drive through the offside. Nicely bowled by Griffiths, taken by Blake. Gus Atkinson really interests me.
And congratulations to him for making both those squads.
I'm just wondering whether as well he's quicker than Plunkett, but it's those middle overs in the subcontinent with a bit of pace. He could really force his way into that team, I think, because Griffiths is in and driving once more is Thane very nicely out towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope, and they'll pick up another couple here as the throw comes in from Geddes. 2 more to Thane.
Sorry, we'll miss him in that championship run-in, won't they, Mark?
They will, because he has got that one ingredient, and that is raw pace. And what's made me laugh is I've heard a few things about, seeing him in the 100 hitting 90 miles an hour. He's been doing that in the championship for Surrey on a regular basis. As in over the wicket comes Griffiths, and this is driven by Thane down towards mid-on, and there's no run. He hasn't been picked for England because of what he's been doing in the 100. Gus Atkinson, he's been picked for England because of what he's been doing for Surrey in the championship.
Absolutely.
And forget the fact he's only played a couple of white ball games for Surrey. It doesn't really matter that. He is quick. Really quick, and he can bat, Gus Atkinson, as well. As over the wicket comes Griffiths once again. Thane drives out towards extra cover, and there is no run as Cameron Steele does the fielding, and there is no run. End of the over, so we've hit the halfway point here at Chelmsford. Now I think Surrey will be pretty happy with this. Essex 126 for 4. Good little partnership building between Webster and Thane, but I think they'll be delighted to have picked up the 4 wickets so far. I think we're going to have a drinks break, because the other thing is a lot of spin from Surrey, so we whip through the overs, so we've still got 2 hours until the cut-off point, and Surrey are already through 25 of their 50 overs with the ball, because, as I say, it's spin dominated for Surrey this attack, but they'll be pleased to have picked up the 4 they have so far, so there's plenty of time for a drinks break, and it's a warm day here at the moment. See it on the live stream there, the players having their drinks, but it's sort of broken cloud and blue sky and sun. Bo Webster's using this opportunity to towel himself down out there at the moment.
And yes, eventually I think the sun will start to shine into our commentary box, so we'll probably move our broadcast equipment perhaps down onto a separate chair we'll find for that, but I think it's things moving along at a pace at the moment, so lunch will be close to lunchtime. It won't be too Julie. Now, Paul, the Essex ECC fan in Grays on bbcessexcricket@gmail.com says, as a massive Essex fan, I'm glad this is the last one-day cup game, putting us out of our misery. Well, I suppose that sums up the fact. Obviously, it hasn't been a very successful competition. I was at Canterbury on Sunday, and he said it wasn't a good performance, but at least it was a nice sunny day out. Why do the batsmen persist with wanting to take the leather off every ball and getting out to poor shots? I suppose that's been a bit of a theme earlier on today as well, Paul. You're saying the younger players not seeming to learn from their mistakes and getting out the same way. Just hit the ball on the ground rather than playing it in the air. And yeah, I guess this is part of the fact that obviously there's much more exposure to short form cricket than to 50 overs these days, and you know, this is why we're seeing a lot more of this in 50 overs generally. You say you're looking forward to watching some live cricket in the last 2 home games in the Championship, and hopefully the return of some sensible measured cricket by the Essex senior players. And I suspect that a lot of Surrey fans will be sort of thinking along the same lines, of getting some senior players back and seeing how things go in those last. Both sides, of course, got 3 games. Essex playing Middlesex, Surrey playing Warwickshire. Both sides playing Northants, and both sides playing Hampshire. Yep. So it's Essex have got to sort of beat Hampshire, but not demoralise them before you play. It's going to be an awkward one.
It's just going to be a fascinating mini league, really. It is.
It's almost like the start of a new season. I think if they played this with a red ball, we could have called it the Charity Shield for the new season.
It's a strange way of doing things, but it's going to be very tense. Now this is good. Tommy Elam's getting his first bowl for Surrey. So Tommy Elam coming into the attack down there at the Hayes close end.
And here he bowls, and that's just played defensively back down the pitch, and there's no run.
It's more spin,
yeah, spin
with his off spin.
Off spinner.
One of these interesting ones that bowls right arm off spin, bats left-handed.
It's a second match, isn't it? Yep. Of Tommy Elam. Again, a good cricketing family, and this is driven through a gap up towards long on for a single, and of course mentioning Elam as very much a Kent connection there in the family. They're doing okay against Hampshire today, 101 for 2 in the 20th over, but it won't be any good for them if Lancashire beat Notts, which is looking likely, as that's played defensively up towards mid-wicket, and there is no run. But the current situation, Notts 50 for 5 after 20 overs against Lancashire. If Lancashire win that, they are through as a third qualifier to join Hampshire and Leicestershire. And this is hit along the ground up towards long on for a single by Thane, who's just settling down from his point of view after a really tough ordeal against Cameron Steele. A slightly less experienced spinner now to deal with, and Bo Webster now faces up, and that's a flat one and driven back firmly and well stopped in the follow through there.
It's a tidy start this from Tommy Elam in his first over.
Pitching it nicely. Did he bowl match in the previous game?
He didn't bowl, in
the
previous game, so this is his first bowl.
And he comes from the Hayes close end, flat, and that's a nice piece of bowling, which beats Webster outside the off stump. And again, very good piece of keeping, very alert there, Blake, whipping off the bells, looking for the potential stumping. But that was an impressive start there from young Elam, and he can be pleased with that. Just the 2 runs from the over, so 2 very inexperienced bowlers at the helm for Surrey at the moment, with Webster 37 from 44, looking very much to anchor the innings through to the close. Thane 29 from 44, and it's 128 for 4 from 26.
Yep, and it's a very good first over that from Tommy Elam. Just a couple of runs off it, quick off breaks, and the last one bounced a touch. So nicely bowled by him. Luke Griffiths will bowl the 27th over. Thane will be the man on strike on 29. Griffiths wearing number 91 from this river end, comes over the wicket to Thane with Blake up to the stumps and drives to Thane, and that's well fielded by Conor McCurt. Nicely tied by Thane, and they will pick up a single, and that is the 50 partnership between Thane and Webster. Yeah. 128 for 4 they are. And that wicket of Allison, the last one to go, bowled by Cameron Steele. But these two have now put on 50. 129 for 4. Webster comes back onto strike as Griffiths is over the wicket to him, and Webster drives again, and that's just potted out towards Blake off the feet of Griffiths. It was well timed by Bo Webster, and it just raced back and hit Griffiths, and then rolled out into the offside, and Blake came down to do the retrieval work. He's got a long way to come down, has Luke Griffiths, but as I say, for 17 he's got all the attributes. Turns again down below us. Comes in over the wicket to Webster, and Webster punches off the back foot out towards Geddes, who will come sprinting round to his right. They want 2 again. He's got a long way to come round out there. The fielding's pretty good. The backing up's better from Amal Verdi, because that bounced awkwardly just in front of Josh Blake, but Verdi was aware of that. Got round to do the backing up. They pick up 2 more. Webster moves on to 39. From 44 deliveries, 131 for 4 Essex.
Invaluable experience for Griffiths. He's got a nice run up and delivery action.
He has. As over the wicket he comes once again to Webster. Solidly forward he goes, plays this one straight back up the pitch, and there's no run. Not bad though, is it? Sort of go away for your summer holidays and you come back having played 5 one-day games for Surrey.
Yep.
Gives you a bit to talk about when you get back.
So that is the one thing about this competition. It does give players a chance who wouldn't otherwise get a go, but of course it's how it possibly links into T20 or indeed Championship cricket.
Over the wicket once again comes Griffiths. That's wider outside the off stump. It's left alone by Webster. I think he thought that was a wide, but not given by umpire Long. Oh, I thought he was about to give it then, but he's just indicating to Webster exactly where it went. Umpire Long sort of come into this game because Mr. Pollard's not here. So I thought it was Nigel Long, and then I looked down at my scorecard and it said Paul Pollard, but it's definitely Nigel Long. As over the wicket once again comes Griffiths to Webster, who drives straight out to extra cover. Steele does the fielding, and there is no run. So pretty tidy over that from Griffiths. End of it. 27 have gone. And Essex are 131 for 4.
Thanks for your comments on the commentary, Paul. Much appreciated. We've also been sent a video of a 6-year-old Charlie Allison, courtesy of the East Anglia Daily Times, and an internet hit. So have a look at that a bit later on. I've also got a question from Mick, who's thinking that he's so impressed by Blake, and with Surrey having 2 good young keepers, is Ben Folkes' position under threat? Probably not, but at least it's good to have strength in depth, as that's driven up for a single by Thane off the first ball of a New Elam over up to long on for a single. But nice to have strength in depth. 131 for 4, 132 for 4.
Yeah, well look, Josh Blake, every time he's come in, he's kept beautifully. He's made some good runs so far in the competition.
As this is played off the back foot up towards deep backward point for a single. Yes, it'd be a bit harsh on folks to both lose his England place and his Surrey place in the same season.
Yes, I think
that would be harsh.
Yes, I think Ben Folkes might start asking a few questions.
Yes,
he's sort of been very, very good about the England stuff.
Yes, that would have more reason to argue. 133 for 4, which is played by Thane with a late adjustment, and in the end he played it quite well. Could hit it through the mid-on gap for a single up towards long on. And this is a good partnership and much needed from an Essex point of view. And Thane has settled down a little bit against the less experienced bowlers after being in a lot of trouble against Cameron Steele. But he survived it, and he's gone to 32. Webster has 40, 134 for 4. Oh, that's a beautiful delivery. A little bit of flight and turn there, and that's the best one that Elam produced so far, and it beats the forward shot from Webster.
Oh, he's just given that a bit more, hasn't he?
Yeah.
A bit more air on it. Nicely bowled.
Lovely piece of bowling. As he bowls again, and that's on the pads of Webster, who plays it through straight mid-on for a single up towards long on. But he settled down nicely here as Elam, just the 6 runs from his 11 deliveries so far.
Well, what I like about him, there's no fuss, is there? He just turns round, comes in, bowls it.
Yeah, bowls again, flatter one this time, and Thane just goes back into his crease and just plays it just a few yards up into the onside. Yep, interesting battle, but Thane has settled. He's 32 from 48, Webster 41. Essex, after a bit of a wobbly start, are now at least building a proper 50 over innings here, and will still be targeting something around about 280, 290. They're 135 for 4 after 28. A few more words from Mark, and then Paul Newton will come back in.
Thank you very much indeed, Nick. So the other thing here is, as I mentioned, Surrey, with a lot of spin, you get through these overs very, very quickly. So 28 gone, 22 left. Just 135 on the board. Luke Griffiths with Blake up to the stumps again to start the 29th over. As Griffiths comes in over the wicket, and Webster drives nicely straight down the ground. There is Conor McCurr to do the fielding, and they'll pick up another single. One more to Bo Webster. He moves on to 42, 136 for 4. On to strike comes Thane with 32 to his name. Griffiths comes past umpire Nigel Long into the right-handed Thane, and Thane drives, and it's good work from Ryan Patel. Dives away to his right at cover point, gets a hand to it, prevents the single. Good bit of work that from Ryan Patel. But they've just got the field set now for Griffiths to go good length round about that off stump. He's got protection through the offside. He's got Blake standing up to the stumps now, so he knows he can go length. As Thane waits once more as Griffiths over the wicket to him. There he goes, right up on the toes of Thane, who just punches this one straight down the pitch. Oh, little misfield from Conor McCurr, but they're through just for the single. As McCurr launches the ball back into the gloves of Josh Blake, who, as I say, today has been mighty impressive again behind the stumps. Ben Folkes twisted an ankle in the game against Yorkshire, and obviously Surrey have got half a mind on September. As over the wicket comes Griffiths, and full toss, which Bo Webster waits for. He's having a look at the square leg umpire, but I can assure Bo Webster that that was about knee height for him, because he's a tall fella. He's Bo Webster. Had that been Thane, Paul Newton, it might have been above waist high. But
yeah, it could have been.
So tall, I think it was about hitting his knee. So it's just the single. 2 balls to go of the over from Griffiths. He's turning down below us. Comes in over the wicket to Thane, and Thane again gets a full length ball, which is driven down the ground, but again he's got protection down there. Just bowling to his field at the moment is Luke Griffiths, doing a good job here. Just bowled that one short ball in the first over that got pulled for 4. Since then, Dom Sibley set his field for him to go full length with protection, and he's doing a good job here. Is Griffiths, 139 for 4. 4 off this over. Can he finish the over off? Webster might take a punt at this last ball. Nope, just gone back of a length, and Webster's a tall man, gets forward, pushes it to backward point. Ryan Patel does the fielding. Good over that from Luke Griffiths. Just the 4 runs from it. So 29 have gone. 21 remaining. 139 for 4. And that's the thing here, Paul. Surrey get through these overs so quickly that Essex might be looking at the board now and thinking, hang on, I've only got 21 left.
Yes, but I think they'll also be thinking, can we do something we don't always manage, and that's back the 50 overs. And when these two came together, they really had to get their heads down. Thane very fortunate to survive Cameron Steele's early overs at him, but has played very well since. As here's Tommy Elam coming in, bowling to Thane, drops it into the offside for a single. 140 for 4, so the partnership is worth 61, and boy did Essex need a couple of guys to get in and stay in. Essex would love to think they'd survive another 10 overs yet, as Bo Webster treats the next ball with the respect it commands and plays it back down the pitch.
Very good from Tommy Elam, this. I've got to admit, it's my first look at him bowling. Lovely action, just gets through it very quickly.
Comes in again, Hayes close end, gives us a bit more air. 1 run down to wide mid off to Bo Webster. He moves up to 44, 141 for 4.
There's no great fuss or bother. He just walks back, turns around, great control.
Run you through the scores elsewhere in a moment. As Elam slightly slower ball, single to long on. Thane will move along to 36, 142 for 4. Elsewhere, Kent 93 for 2. Sorry, 130 for 2, just been updated against Hampshire at halfway. Yorkshire 93 for 3 against Middlesex. Just want to just refresh. I have a feeling the scores have got a bit behind on my screen here, so we'll just give that time. No, it is 93 for 3. Yorkshire going slowly. They've now had one ball more than half their overs. So the score up to 143 for 4. Webster 45. Thane on strike on 36. Faces the next delivery. Nice shot, but well fielded at mid-on. There will be no run there as Steele comes down on the ball. And the end of another good over there. Just running you through scores elsewhere. Notts 87 for 5 and just over half the overs against Lancashire. Somerset 148 for 3 and 28 against Derby. Northampton 167 for 2 in the 30th over against Glamorgan. Durham 128 for 2, approaching halfway against Gloucestershire. And Sussex 125 for 2 in the 29th against Warwickshire.
Yeah, and Surrey getting a change in bowling here. Ryan Patel is going to bowl from the river end. So 20 overs left now. Griffiths there 4 overs, no mains, none for 21. Take out the first over, bowled very nicely. Set his field, bowled to his field. Elam's got through 3 overs, none for 10. Ryan Patel, he's coming back in to have a bowl. It's his first bowl of this game. He opened the bowling at Guildford with his little swingers. Ryan Patel.
Well, at this rate, there won't be many Surrey players who haven't had a bowl. I think it must be about the 7th, I'd have thought.
Well, yes, it is. Just trying to think who hasn't as yet. Sibley's certainly not bowled himself. I wish he would, though. Love watching Sibley bowl.
Yeah, Krish Patel hasn't bowled yet.
Not had a bowl as yet. Blake
obviously
hasn't had a Blake yet. Has everybody else had a bowl so far? I think they probably have, haven't they?
Pretty much, yeah. It might be one other that we've missed out.
So Ryan Patel it is, coming in over the wicket to Bo Webster. Goes back of a length first up, turned by Webster, straight in there towards short mid-wicket, and there's no run. I said when Sibley started bowling for Surrey early in his career, I said he would take 100 first-class wickets.
Yeah.
Leg spin. We've got 96 to go, so I'm hoping that he does get himself into the attack in Championship cricket at some point, or Rory Burns brings him into the attack. When he left Surrey, Sibley, he was opening the bowling for Surrey in T20 cricket.
Yes, and I remember him doing it against Essex quite effectively.
Patel is in, and forward goes Webster, pushes this one into the offside. Steele with the fielding. Oh, if that had hit direct, I think Thane may have been in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
It took an age to get going on that single, and Cameron Steele thinks that as well. Direct hit. I think Thane would have been in trouble there. That's the last thing these two need to do. They've got a partnership going. He's run the other one out.
Well, yes, and the running for Essex generally has been a little bit dodgy, particularly on balls hit straight to fielders fielding fairly close in the offside. They've pinched one or two they've been lucky to get away with.
Thane comes back on to strike as Patel is into him, and he's just going length, and Thane's turning this one into the leg side. He's got quite a bit of bat on that actually, and that's going to race away for 4. So that's our first boundary for a while actually. Not exactly where Thane intended, but picks up 4, and he's done well here because he was struggling against Cameron Steele. There's no doubt about that, but he got through that.
Yeah, he's done extremely well. It does just show you, though, although he wouldn't have been at that end to hit the 4 if they hadn't gone for the quick single off the previous ball, but silly to throw your wicket away when there are plenty of runs to be had out there.
148 for 4 as Patel is into Thane, and Thane off the back foot punches down towards backward point, and Patel got something on that. But they'll get 2 here. Oh my goodness, they've come back for the second on the misfield. Thane is keeping everybody on their toes with his running between the wickets at the moment, but he's back for 2, and that's the 150 up for Essex. 150 for 4 in the 31st.
I don't think he particularly ran his bat in there, but what I think he did do was just to watch the throw coming in and bang the bat down over the line just before the wicketkeeper could take the bails off. But again, as you say, he's keeping everybody on the edge of their seats.
Including the umpires at the moment, as Patel is in. Thane has a force off the back foot, beats the edge, beautifully taken again by Blake.
Good delivery, an off-cutter, and it was too close to the batsman for the shot he was attempting as he looked to force into the offside, and he hadn't really moved the feet at all, but he would have needed to actually take a step backwards to create the room to play the back cut he was looking for there.
Again, Ryan Patel gets through his overs pretty quickly. He's ready to come in again with the last ball of the over, and Thane pushes off the back foot this time up towards Conor McCurr at mid-off. So the end of the first over from Ryan Patel, 7 off it, 31 gone, 19 left. Where all the players these days mark their run-ups with the spray paint, again, it looks like a modern work of art down there, doesn't it? With all their initials and lines, and they all have different ways of doing it. So at either end, there's all the markings for the bowlers.
Yes, it's a bit like chalk up on a dart scoreboard, you know, that people use for obvious reasons there. But yeah, very, very quick over rate from Surrey here because of all the spin we've seen. But I have to say, I don't know what you think, Mark, as we see a new over begin from Tommy Elam initially to Bo Webster, and Webster drives this ball for a single out to deep cover, 151 for 4, Webster 47.
Yeah, I think it's what Surrey do in this comp, because they've got to, really.
Yeah, yes.
And I tell you what, this has been impressive from Elam, though. His first bowl for Surrey.
And the next ball, a little bit cross-batted from Thane. Goes up to mid-wicket, and there's no run.
He's got lovely control. He really has.
Yes, I think they've all bowled pretty well, actually. As Elam's in.
Not bowled.
Thane plays at this outside off stump. Bale's taken off, but Thane's kept his back foot planted. There's no run there.
Lovely bit of bowling. He's playing for turn there, then there isn't any. But it's just great pace from Elam.
151 for 4. Next delivery is tossed up, and not really where Thane intended the ball to go, but he gets a single past short extra, moves up to 43, 152 for 4. These two not that far now off doubling the score when they came together. Another 6 runs they'll have done that. 79 for 4 it was. Elam to Bo Webster. Webster single to long on, 153 for 4. Webster up to 48. Slightly untidy throw comes in.
Yes, that Cameron's still there with the throw, and I think Thane thought it was following him like a missile, that. Tried to get away from it, but he's only gone for 3 in this over, Elam.
Yep, last ball of it about to be bowled. Thane back to the bowler, so just the 3 singles from it, and 33 overs have gone, 153 for 4. Just checking I've got that right now. It's 32 overs gone. Yeah, the thing that surprises me, Mark, one of the best test series of all time has just finished, and some would say the best, and yet there's a lot of furore about slow over rates. Now I reckon anyone who's been to see any of the day's cricket, apart from those badly interfered with by the weather, has got no right to go home and say, do you know what, I was cheated out of 8 overs today. When so many games finish well within the time limits anyway, I can't see what people are grumbling about. And
yeah.
England actually were penalised 19 of the 28 points towards the World Test Championship because of slow over rates. No?
Yeah, I slightly disagree in that Patel comes in over the wicket from the river end, and this one's turned into the leg side, and Webster will pick up a single, 1 more to the total. There are so many stoppages in Test cricket that just don't need to happen. They just don't need to happen.
But you've got to factor in all the reasons why there are stoppages now, and not just keep the same number of overs to be bowled in the day.
All I'd say to you, Paul Newton, is you go and buy your ticket for a film, yes? And you've paid a lot of money for it.
I never go to see films, by the way.
Well, let me just say it's a 2.5 hour film. As forward goes the right-handed Thane and plays this one out into the offside, and you're really enjoying the film, yeah? And you've paid good money to watch it, and then with 20 minutes of the film to go, they stop the film and say that's it.
Not a fair comparison.
No, I think it is. I think it's because I sit and watch so many stoppages in Test match cricket where I sit there and there is absolutely no reason for this. There's no reason to be having a stoppage at the moment. As this is pulled by Thane, short from Patel, over the leg side and away for 6. And the only reason it was such good cricket, that's a good shot from Fay. It's the first one we've had short, is because of the way that England played. They were going 100%, 100 miles an hour. But again, you look at they can easily get the right number of overs in during a day of Test match cricket. But there are, when the new ball's brought out, for goodness sake, how long does it take? As Patel is in, and Thane's had a little cut at this one. The rigmarole of bringing out the box of balls. Honestly, just get on with it.
Yeah, now that's all very well, but to penalise sides when a lot of the time, things like, for instance, referrals, to the third umpire.
They take too long as well.
They take far too long.
Half the time everybody knows.
But you can't blame the side who've done the referral for that.
Patel is in, forward, goes Thane, plays this one back up the pitch, and there's a single, one more to the total. We'll agree to disagree, but any team can get on with it. Any team can get on with it.
Yeah, but we all like to see at Test cricket really fast bowling. You cannot expect a guy like Mark Wood to bowl an over at the same sort of tempo as you would say, for instance, Jack Leach.
Yeah, but it didn't happen years ago when you had two quick bowlers off big long run-ups. As forward goes the right-handed Webster, plays this one out into the offside. I'm not having to go at the players. What I am saying is, if you add up all the time, and the other thing with it as well is, why not start at 10:30?
Well, I was going to say, what you can do.
There's nothing to stop you starting at 10:30. There is a way of doing it.
What you can do is lengthen the day.
But all I'm saying is, for the paying public, you're not getting what it says on the ticket. That you're not actually genuinely getting what it says on the ticket. And that is my analogy of going to see a film. That you're enjoying the film, you've paid for the whole film, and 20 minutes before the end they turn the film off. As here is the youngster Elam again, and Thane will play this one down the ground, ball, and they'll pick up a single, and that's one more to the total.
Yeah, a good partnership this, which has now actually doubled the score, as was when these two came together. 160 for 4, it was 79 for 4. Elam from the Hayes close end, bowls to Webster, Webster plays it off the back foot, and they get a single, and applause there for Webster's 50, and he's played thoroughly well actually, because whereas Thane, who has also I think played thoroughly well, but he did need all the luck going in before he reached double figures when facing in particular Cam Steele. Webster on the other hand has never really looked in any degree of trouble at all. Here is the next ball from Elam, tossed up, and Thane rather misses that out on that one, but he's still there. He's played it perfectly safely to mid-wicket. There's no run. And in again comes Elam, bowls, and this ball's flicked away, and again a single to deep backward square leg, and applause now for the second half centurion in the over, this time Noah Thane, and he's moved up to 50, playing the ball to deep backward square leg, and 162 for 4 I think that should be.
And a number of times as well in a test match that they walk off and the light's perfect and there's blue skies and they're still not fitting the overs in.
And this next one goes down to long on for a single. Webster moves up to 51, 163 for 4.
So I don't believe this, that they can't go quicker.
Well, they can, but I think, again, I don't think it's particularly the players.
I've just said it's not the players' fault. It's all the histrionics around it.
And this next one's played back to the bowler, and there's no run there. And 163 for 4 marks the end of the 34th over. And Essex very much with this partnership now, which is not that far off approaching 100, have played themselves back into the game, I feel.
It's just the things like changing the ball. Yeah, honestly.
Yes, well,
really, I have to
everybody
wait
would agree with you there.
For the umpire to walk out with a stainless steel box of balls. Yeah, so it's one big moment in the day, makes the most of it, then we all have to just get on with it. And they picked the wrong ball anyway, didn't they, at the Oval?
Yes.
So after all of that, they got the wrong ball anyway. So, Dan Moriarty to bowl from the River Edge. 16 overs left. We are way ahead of time here because Surrey spin dominated. Good over again from Elam. He hasn't gone for a boundary
No,
yet.
terrific.
As Moriarty is in from the river end, and Webster drives straight down the ground towards long off, and they'll pick up a single. One more to the total. 164 for 4. As Moriarty comes round the wicket to Thane. Thane's on the back foot, turns this one into the leg side. Sibley does the fielding in there at short mid wicket, and there's no run. Settles himself down over his bat once again. Does Thane as Moriarty's in. Oh, that's very wide, and yeah, will be signalled wide by umpire Long.
Yeah, I think it's almost the first wide we've seen.
Is.
Right.
There's been a couple that have, apart from the one that took the wicket, of course, down the leg side of Cushy, as this one's pushed off the back foot by Thane, straight back to Moriarty, because that was a stumping down the leg side by Blake. Brilliant bit of work.
It was.
But it was a wide. Round the wicket goes Moriarty. Thane's punching off the back foot this time, out there towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope. Geddes will do the fielding. One more to the total. Just to get back to my film analogy, it's a bit like you're watching the film, Paul Newton, and then in the middle of the film, someone sort of comes up to you and stops the film because they want to offer you popcorn for 25 minutes. You don't need it, as this one's turned leg side, and Webster does the fielding in there at short mid wicket, and there's no run.
Sorry,
doesn't need to take that long.
I'm not fond of this film analogy.
I am.
Yeah, I gather that.
I love it. As Moriarty comes in round the wicket, and Thane's cutting, and he's got this away past the backward point. Apologies, Webster. Down towards third man it goes, and Patel gives chase, does well, and they'll get back for 3 as the throw comes in over the top of the stumps, and 3 more to the total. The end of me. 35 overs gone, 15 left. 169 for 4 Essex.
Yes, the boundary is so long on that side of the ground, there's almost time to take 2 on the throw, because it must be very little shy of 100 yards out to that boundary there at very wide third man, away to our left. So 169 for 4, partnership worth 90, 55 Webster, 51 to Thane. And Webster it is, who will be facing the start of the next over. And Elam's in and bowls, and this ball is absolutely belted back, and 4 runs, despite the valiant effort of Long On to get across and stop that. That was hit with tremendous power from Webster, who moves up to 59. 173 for 4. Welcome back, Nick.
Yes, it's been a very good knock, and I've been lucky to see both of his major contributions, both of his 50s, Bo Webster. He's played very well both times.
Next delivery, it's just nudged for a quick single into a gap in the offside, and so that was the first boundary, not that ball, that was just a single, but the one before it, first boundary off Tommy Elam, and 174 for 4. We're in the 36th, and next ball is played for no run to wide mid off on the edge of the circle, and Elam about to come in again. Bowls and down the wicket, and I think this is going to be 6 all right. It's absolutely belted back over Elam's head and over the sight screen at the Hayes close end, and that's a terrific pick-up from the Essex youngster, 18 years of age, Noah Thane, who's moved up to 57, his second half century of the tournament. I like the look of him in the England-Ireland game, and I was likening him there to a young Graham Napier, and he certainly has the Napier-like ability. I saw Graham Napier hit what was a world record equalling 16 sixes at Guildford one year, around about 2014, and certainly this guy can certainly hit 6s all right. That's not his first by any means, and that's the 100 partnership, 180 for 4.
Yeah, this is the upside of this competition, in sort of giving youngsters a chance, and both Allison and Thane now with 2 decent contributions have certainly taken advantage of it, and Essex of course haven't really got the results so far to sort of go alongside that, but at least they've managed to develop these 2 players. Just needed, you feel, a bit more strength in depth through the competition as a whole. obviously Simon Harmer missing that first match in particular when they were pretty weak, pretty inexperienced side against a very strong looking Notts side on paper would be a good example.
Next delivery, played back to the bowler by Thane. Yes, that was game 2. The first was
I think he was rested for the first 2 though, wasn't he? But
yeah, he was, and the game at Sedbergh, which I went up for, was curtailed by rain. As the next ball, Thane steers it for a single through the covers, 181 for 4, Thane to 58. But Essex would have lost that, there's no doubt about it. In just 6 overs, they were 50 behind on Duckworth Lewis when the rains came, 4 overs too early from a Lancashire point of view. So Essex rather snuck a point there that they wouldn't otherwise have got. But yeah, it would have made a difference if Harmer had been only available in the tournament.
Of course, they were without Cushy and without Shane Snater. So, arguably, you looked at those 2 sides on paper for the Notts game in particular. I know Notts have rather underachieved in the competition subsequently, but particularly their bowling attack looked pretty much taken out of their championship side, didn't it? And it looked very strong indeed.
Which was true also up at Sedbergh again. Lancashire had a strong bowling line.
And the batting, they've obviously got the likes of Keaton Jennings and some of their experienced players at the top of the order. So Moriarty going around the wicket and bowling, and that's played off the back foot and goes away probably for 2, just beating backward point. It's going to be picked up away on the wide third man boundary, picked up there by Ben Geddes. And there's a couple of runs there. So Essex were sent in and they lost Brown for 18. He'll feel annoyed about that because he was set for a big score. Cushy for 24 and Benkenstein for 15. And that's just, again, played off the back foot straight to backward point this time. They scamper through for a single and get there comfortably enough. So Thane with a 2 and a 1. Moves along to 61 in the process, overtakes Webster on 61.84 for 4. And when Allison was bowled by Cameron Steele for 4, Essex was 79 for 4, so they pull on 104 since these 2. Let's just clip round the corner down to backward square leg Verdi, and there is no run. So Essex at the moment on course for, you would have thought, something close to 300, which would be a nice competitive score as Moriarty bowls. Back foot just played defensively back down the pitch, and at least looking favourites at the moment to bat out the 50 overs, which of course, I guess the Yorkshire game was the glaring example where 35 overs you're unlikely to win a game. It was a real classic hare against tortoise game, that, with the tortoise winning, as this is played up into the onside quick single, and a flick throw. Probably needed to be a direct hit there, but flick throw coming in from acting captain Dominic Sibley, gathered nicely by Blake, but they're through for another single. So 185 for 4, and it's 61 apiece with that single to Webster, which brings him level with Thane, who's on strike now to Moriarty, soon to be with Yorkshire. That's played up towards long on for a single and fielded there by Elam, and he bowled pretty well so far as well. He's 6 overs for 29. Moriarty 1 for 48 after 9 overs, but a very good partnership this, 107 so far. Webster 61, Thane 62, has looked far more settled since he saw off Cameron Steele. 186 for 4 with 13 overs to go.
And hopefully the 4 that have gone, looking down, and they do well to say, do you know, I should be still out there now.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid you could be critical of all the 4 methods of dismissal, not taking anything away from some very good bowling from the Surrey bowlers, but nevertheless the 4 people who are out all contributed in no uncertain terms to their downfall. And these 2, okay, Thane fortunate to survive his early stages, but has played tremendously well since. And Webster has simply never looked in a moment's bother out there. And it's a good pitch, so you can see there are a lot of runs to be had out there. And if you're going to be a successful cricketer as a batsman, you can't just be losing your wicket as easily as the 4 who've, and as easily as Essex typically have lost their wickets throughout the 50 over competition this year. So we've got a change in the bowling. Conor McCurr returns at the Hayes Close end. He opened up with a really good spell this morning. Bowled arguably the 2 best deliveries of the day, as here he comes in now and bowls, and this one keeps a little low, and Thane plays the ball for no run to short mid wicket.
And 2 emails from the Grumbler, so we need to catch up on those. The first, this is Bo Webster's last game. For me, he's been a pretty solid signing. His maturity has stood out with the bat. Amidst some of the loss of wickets in the middle order, yes, and you've enjoyed his bowling because you've got a mixture of spin and pace, and medium pace anyway, in the same over. So not too many examples of that. Andrew Simons, the Australian, of course, was one. Not often in the same over, mind you.
No, he's done well as Bo Webster, as this next ball's played off the back foot by Thane for a single. He goes up to 63, the score to 187 for 4. We're in the 38th over, and I was going to say Webster, the point you were making earlier, hasn't made a really conclusive score yet, but maybe we're watching it now.
Yeah, and the one previous really good contribution, interviewed him after the game at the Aegeus on a very different day weather-wise to today, but as soon as we put in a request for him to come down, he was down in a couple of minutes and gave us a very good interview, and very nice to hear from him.
Australians are usually pretty good in that respect, as this next ball is played by Webster to short mid-wicket, and there'll be no run.
I mentioned that to our colleague Dick Davis, who's actually here today, and he said he could think of one Australian overseas player who was an exception to that at times, not all the time. I won't name the name, but yes, as a general rule of thumb, they are very much media trained, and certainly Ben Webster was very, very kind to give us his time so quickly on that occasion.
Yes,
sometimes in the Aegeus Bowl we have to wait quite a while at the bottom of those steps to get an interview.
You wouldn't get a much better Australian to interview than Peter Siddle.
No.
Absolutely first class. Made it look as though he was just longing to be interviewed as this next ball is pulled away. 1 run of certainty. I don't think they're going to take a second. There's a backward square leg. Ben Geddes advances and keeps it down to a single. 188 for 4, and Webster up to 62.
And the Grumbler is siding with Mark on the overrate issue. And you say sports must be forced to progress these days. Baseball's introduced shot clocks this season. It's taken about 30 minutes off a game length. Of course, Premier League games are going beyond 5 o'clock on a Saturday now.
Well, yes. Yeah.
So I think Portsmouth game went to 5:20 with the linesman having to be replaced twice.
Next delivery is played back to mid-on. There's no run there. My point would be, though, as I was saying, England have been fined most of the points they earned in that test series. Now, I don't think that's right, because they're making the same prescription for number of overs when there are now at least 3 major areas where long delays are inevitable. Now, for me, you've either, instead of fining the fielding side, you've either got to create an extra half hour in the day's play and start at 10:30, or you've got to remove some of these very lengthy delays, for instance, in the appeal system, in the excessive number of drinks, in the excessive number of changes of ball. Here is the next delivery, and this is pulled in the air, simplest of catches, and that is an anticlimactic end to an otherwise excellent innings from Noah Thane, who departs, caught at mid-wicket. He simply didn't get hold of that, and departs for a currently top-scoring 63. Webster's only 1 behind on 62, but he'll get a big hand here, and he'll deserve it after sharing in a 5th wicket partnership of 109.
Yeah, and the crowd has built up a bit since the start. I think people are attracted by the fact it's a nice sunny day, and also I think they're anticipating quite an even contest, and it's sort of building up that way with that century partnership now being broken. But Noah Thane will get a good hand here from the members and those around the ground. And I say it is a pretty good crowd in now. Just at the start I thought, there's a few more gaps than I was thinking there would be, but people have come in, and I think sensing on a nice sunny day with no more home cricket, we'll come back to that until September, that's certainly worth coming along, and good turnout in the public seats as well, and they've seen a nice knock from one of the young 18-year-old Essex batsmen with a couple of 50s in the competition, and hopefully that's done him a lot of good. And he had a real battle with Cameron Steele, which probably still won on points, despite the fact he hit a 6 and a 4 in 1 over. We certainly did, I think. But against the other bowlers, he looked a bit more comfortable, and he certainly played very nicely.
Yes, he was all at sea until he'd faced a few overs from Cameron Steele. But apart from that, he got his head down, and what baffled him about Steele was he just didn't know whether it was going to be the leg spinner, the googly, or the straight honour. And Steele was bowling extremely well. but he stuck in there and played in a manner that was suggested that he got enough up top to realise the seriousness of the Essex situation when he came in. 4 wickets down, and I think it was something like the 14th over, 15th maybe. Anyway, Will Buttleman, who's also made some good contributions, got a 50 in his last innings the other day at Canterbury, and he's out there in the middle, and I'd be reasonably hopeful he'd keep Bo Webster company.
This is just played off the back foot, start of a new over, down towards backward point, and there is no run. 1 ball into the 39th over now, the wicket falling off the last ball of the previous one, and it's Webster on strike to Moriarty. So 188 for 5, 39th over, comes forward, just plays defensively into the onside. I think thought of a single there, but Blake has been excellent round the stumps, behind the stumps, gets round quickly and prevents any thought in that direction. 188 for 5, yes, the Grumbler talking about the days of the West Indies slow over rate, but of course that was instrumental in them being such a great side, as that's driven away up towards long off for a single. And he also mentions the fact that India's attitude to over rates is crucial now. He says he went to a day of the World Test Championship final and saw only 76 overs, £85 a ticket. That is not on. Yeah, I'll give you a thought on that. Also got another email from Chris on that, which I'll give you a thought on that. The Grumbler, who's excellent newsletter, included a very good breakdown of the county course to the 100, which we'll come back to again during the afternoon. It's available online now. It's just played up, it's just past cover for a single. He's diving on top of it slightly there, Cameron Steele, and goes out as far as Ben Geddes. At the sweeper position, they get through for another single, so that takes Essex along to 190 for 5. Still heading for another 100 runs, you would have thought. Gets Buttleman to 1, and here's just a defensive push from Webster, who's just treating every ball in its merit here. 63 from 80 balls, 190 for 5. Bit of a recovery from Essex thanks to that century partnership. Can they bat out the overs and get a decent score close to 300 here, as this is driven away for singles through the mid-off gap. It's probably not going to be 300. 280 maybe won't be the limits of their ambitions, and they'll need to keep wickets in hand to even get that far. That partnership being broken at a good time there from the point of view of Surrey. So Webster with a single off the last ball, 64, Buttleman 1, 191 for 5. I think in the end there was a bit of agreement there between Paul and Mark, because we got to the point where the earlier start and longer sessions, the problem at the moment, you get to a tea interval halfway through the overs for the day, which is daft. So you also have to consider what time Sky start their broadcast. It's currently 10:15. They could start at 10 o'clock, and you could have the day starting at 10:40. 2 hour 10-minute sessions, 14 overs required per hour with drinks break. Lunch at 12:50, tea at 3:40, an extra half hour. And all you're asking them for them to bowl 14 overs a day. And then the question is, if they don't do that, do you punish them with run penalties, or do you punish them with the World Test Championship points? But I do agree it is rather farcical to have a World Test Championship and then to take away all the points due to a slow over rate. There has to be a better way of doing it than that. Yeah. 191 for 5.
Yeah, 14 overs an hour, you meant that.
Yeah, 14 overs an hour.
Yeah. Here's the first ball of a new over from McCurr from the Hayes close end, played into the covers, and no run there. Bo Webster on strike on the top, scoring 64. Yes, my point is that it's the actual players that you're penalising, but it's the setup that actually needs penalising. Because if you're sort of saying it's ridiculous how long it takes for the decisions to be made, well, don't penalise the players for that. Make the third umpire hurry up.
And, to be honest, you should never be penalised if you make either a umpire's call or successful DRS review.
Yep, no, absolutely right. Here's the next ball from McCurr. Bowls, and Webster pulls this handsomely down to backward square leg. Oh, it's a misfield from Ben Geddes, whose work has been excellent out there, but on this occasion he seemed to have it covered. I have to say, I'll give him a slight benefit. Maybe it took a little bit of a kink on its way to him at square leg, but whereas it should have been a single, and he thought it would only be a single, Geddes, but it goes through him, and 4 runs ensues, taking the score up to 195 for 4. And for 5, I should say, I beg your pardon. 195 for 5. 68 now to the Australian, Bo Webster. And McCurr, good straight approach, bowls to him again. A single here to mid-wicket, who's now near the edge of the circle. And that That is Cam Steele, who earlier would have been in a position to actually stop that, but we're getting into closing overs, and he's retreated to the edge of the circle, and Webster took the pace off that, so that facilitated the single. He moves up to 69. We're in the 40th over, and the score is 196 for 5.
And Chris Grant, on the same subject, said he had a similar conversation with an ex-New Zealand cricketer who used to commentate on Derbyshire cricket, and he was defending an over rate of 14 overs per hour.
Well, that I must say seems reasonable. It's here. The next ball, a lovely shot from Battleman, albeit he didn't really get hold of it or time it as well as I first thought. But he gets a single to deep cover. Moves to 2, 197 for 5.
And Chris, you said, you pointed out, but Derbyshire used to bowl 18.5 overs an hour, and they had Devon Malcolm and Michael Holding with the very long run-ups. But yes, I think the issue is, I think 15 overs an hour is unrealistic now in Test cricket because of the DRS and all the delays. I think if you can actually get it down to 14 and then work out how you sanction teams that fall below that.
Not to mention the ball changes, yes, and that really irritates people, I'll warrant you.
Particularly if Ricky Ponting and they replace the ball with one that's 40 overs newer.
Yeah, this ball played back to the bowler by Webster's, no run.
That was remarkable, that, and they spent a lot of time analysing that, but he did have a fair point.
Oh, he did. You know, he also had a fair point when he was run out by the substitute fielder who England had carefully selected as probably the best in the country. That day, I think it was at Old Trafford, wasn't it? As here is to completely over McCurry bowls. Edson brilliantly caught by Josh Blake, going to his right. It's actually the first time we've seen an edge of that nature, with a genuine edge. Webster not quite moving the feet, ball a little bit too close to him for the shot. McCurry gets his man, who's made 69 here. Very important knock, not only from an Essex point of view, but from the point of view of the parameters of this match. We're now going to see a game that even if Essex don't bat the 50 overs out, we're in the 40th. There's still 4 wickets left, so he has made a big difference along with Noah Thane here. Essex 197 for 6 after 40 overs.
Yes, I wonder. Aaron Beard coming out ahead of Jamal Richards. I was just thinking this would be a good opportunity for Jamal Richards. It still will be, but Aaron Beard coming out ahead of him. Aaron Nijar and Ben Allison. Ben Allison actually, capable, very much capable batsman. Nice to see Aaron Nijar, by the way, getting in the wickets recently. Hopefully he might have a good contribution today because the Surrey spinners have done well. But very interesting debate on the over rate. And the question is, do you sanction with run penalties or the World Test Championship? The problem is, it all has to be agreed by India, as the Grumbler has pointed out. You can imagine all sorts of chaos if suddenly you had run penalties being imposed in the middle of a Test match, and what might happen. But it all has to be agreed. But you feel if the World Test Championship is going to have some meaning, you can't just take away, all the points of sides who, particularly those who might well be likely contenders to be in the final.
Yes, and what further penalised England, by all accounts, the fact that their innings lasted fewer than 80 overs actually cost them more points. So for the hugely entertaining cricket they played, they were penalised, and that just can't make any sense at all.
And the other thing is, of course, most of the Bazball Test matches, if it was dry, of course we had an unusually wet second, weather deteriorated in the second half of the Ashes, you'd still play it all within 4 days of playing time. So here's the start of the new over. This is being bowled by Steele, who's 6 overs 1 for 16, and it's just chopped down by Battleman for a single down to deep backward point.
Yeah, what you don't want in these situations from the batting side's point of view is, at a critical point in proceedings, 2 batsmen who've hardly got off the mark to come together, and after that splendid partnership of 109 for the 5th wicket, both members have now departed in the 60s, and it means that, as I say, Beard and Battleman, with little time to play themselves in, will be expected to try and crack on with the scoring.
Steele again, it's bowled very well. Bowls now to Battleman. Oh, he's beaten outside the off stump by his first delivery there. Beard is looking for to cut it away, but was beaten by that one. bowls again, and just looking to work that one into the onside leg break, but again didn't make any contact, so he was still very much lining up Cameron Steele, who's bowled very well today, 1 for 17 inside 7 overs.
Yeah, bowling to the left-hander at the moment, but I've enjoyed Steele's bowling rather more than I think the Essex batsmen have, and I'm glad they've switched ends so that we can see exactly what he's doing with the ball.
Yeah. So leg break bowler, and he flights that one. That was another very nice piece of bowling.
Superb.
Very well taken there by Blake behind the stumps. Again, Beard, let's say, looking rather uncertain against his opposite number at the moment.
And I think it's particularly difficult coming to terms with him when you're new to the crease,
yeah.
which, you know, Thane at first was absolutely all at sea.
John Bush mentions Napier's 16 sixes in a championship match, not scored at Guildford, but at Whitgift School.
Whitgift, thank you for correcting me, yes.
Whitgift School. And that's, attempted forcing shot off the back foot, but in the end, a little bit of turn defeats it, and he's just playing it back down the pitch off a flat bat there, Beard.
I miss Whitgift. The hospitality there was absolutely tremendous, and wonderful surroundings as well, with flamingos and goodness knows what, a headmaster with a racing post tucked under his arm.
Yes, what a beautiful piece of bowling, and nicely flighted, and it's not gathered in cleanly this time, but it was beautifully bowled. There was no contact, and that was very much advantage Kerr in that over, Steele rather, in that over. That was a lovely over, and a little bit too much, particularly for Beard, new to the crease. So he's on naught, Battleman 3, and as Paul was alluding to, a disadvantage for Essex here. They've got 2 guys new to the crease at this stage. And you also, John, mentioned the 16 sixes in the T20 match against Sussex, which I did see.
Yeah, me too.
Of course, very famous one. And 198 for 6 there on 9 overs to go.
And not the least enjoyment I had that day at Whitgift, the best hospitality I've ever known on a cricket ground. The Surrey guy who looks after dressing room kept coming round with strawberries and cream and other wonderful delights, and he couldn't give me enough. It was absolutely amazing. I love Whitgift. I do miss it actually, Essex had the good fortune to play there 2 or 3 times actually in fairly quick succession. Whitgift, by the way, it's in Croydon.
Yeah.
It's just the most delightful ground. And Kevin Peterson, in his days with Surrey, was out, and Essex figured that the way to get Peterson out was to bowl someone who doesn't normally bowl. So they brought Matt Walker on, and he got rid of him straight away. Yeah. So Verdi is back in the attack with his off breaks from the Hayes close end, and this is going to run down to the boundary for 4. It was a reverse sweep, but somehow managed to find its way round the stumps and down to the boundary, just favouring the leg side in the end, from the blade of Buttleman, who moves up to 7, and Essex bring up 200 in the 42nd over. We'll have Mark Church join Nick Gledhill at the end of the over. 202 for 6 in the 42nd.
Our emailers are lining up either behind you or Mark here. We've got Ken supporting you and Reese supporting Mark. We'll come to those in a
Well done, Ken, as Verdi's in the bowls, and this ball's played out to long on. They might even think of a second here if they get their skates on, and I think if they'd been a bit smarter, there might have been one, but they ambled the first run, and then there certainly wasn't time for another one. Beard will come into strike. Buttleman gets a single to move along to 8, and the score is 203 for 6.
Cloud cover is sort of gradually breaking up, and it is forecast to be a very fine afternoon, and I think we're going to see more and more blue sky as time goes on.
And Verdi just waiting for Beard to survey the field. First
century for Daniel Bell Drummond, by the way, 119 not out. Not sure he's involved in 100 this year, is he, at all? 218 for 3. Kent with 13 overs to go.
Yeah, I think he's had an injury.
Yeah.
As Beard has stroked this ball through the offside for a single. Now they are coming back for a second, and he gets home safely enough. Beard with a brace gets off the mark. 205 for 6.
That game taking place on the Isle of Wight. What a lovely day to have that from the Hampshire supporters' point of view. I'm sure the holiday crowd there.
Yes, I think I must have missed a signal for buys or leg buys rather than 4 to Buttleman earlier in the over, because he's credited with 4 on both boards now, so yeah. My apologies there. So he's got 4 in total, and they were extras at boundary that came earlier in this over.
Sorry, bowling some tight overs here after the dismissal of those 2 batsmen.
If anything, having the spinners back at both ends is doing Surrey no harm whatsoever. And I think Essex are going to do pretty well in this situation now that both the top scoring batsmen have been dismissed, to reach 250.
Yeah, at one point, it looking like they could. I was mentioning how close to 300 they might get to,
yeah.
But of course that was dependent on certainly I think Webster batting through,
yes.
with his experience.
And Thane
was batting very well towards
well,
the
he can hit sixes.
Yeah.
You know, he's a powerful lad. So if the two had survived, I think they'd have probably got 280, something like that. But they haven't, and I think I'd probably on Essex's behalf take 250 if you offered it on their behalf now. Meanwhile, the left-handed bidder himself is no slouch with the bat. He can hit a hard cricket ball. He's just having a good look at the field, trying to pick a slot where he thinks he might get a boundary. Verdi bowls to
between Webster and Thane, which took Essex up from 79 for 4 to 188 for 5, but 3 relatively quick wickets and a slowdown in the scoring rate has given Surrey the advantage in the game again, and Beard never really settled there against the spinners, it's fair to say. Battleman there on 4. Interesting to see how Jamal Richards goes here. We've got Nijar and Allison also to bat. So 205 for 7. Just mentioned that Kent score going along very nicely. 231 for 3 with 12 overs to go. So they're going to get well in excess of 300 I should say. Bell Drummond 132 not out from 121 balls. But, and the but for Kent is that if Lancashire win, then they will join Leicestershire and Hampshire in the knockout stages from this group, and it is looking still like Lancashire, although Notts have fought back. 148 for 7 with 12 overs to go. At least they're going to post something there. 148 for 8 now with just under 12 overs to go. So Lancashire will probably bowl Notts out, and Lancashire with a vastly superior net run rate to Kent, mainly because Kent lost by 264 runs to Leicestershire, which rather damaged their net run rate. It's sometimes when you have a defeat like that, and net run rate is the first decider, there's just no way back, and that could be the story for the defending champions Kent. So still Lancashire the favourites to go through with Hampshire and Leicestershire in this group, and Hampshire, if they were to beat Kent, that's not looking likely at the moment, then they've got to win by a certain margin to win the group and avoid the quarter-final. So I think there's still the over going on, so I just threw that last ball there. Verdi completing the over, and so 205 for 7. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Ben Allison out there now with Buttleman. I think Surrey have bowled pretty well here, actually. I think to keep Essex on this surface to 205 for 7 has been a good effort from Surrey today. Spinners have done a good job. I thought Elam was really impressive. I think I'm right in saying in the overs he bowled, he didn't actually he conceded one boundary, that straight 6, which is pretty good going on your first competitive bowl for Surrey bowling his off breaks. So I think Surrey will be pleased with where they find themselves. What have we got? 8 overs to go. That good partnership between Thane and then Bo Webster, but getting those two pretty quickly one after the other has just held Essex back now.
Yeah, possibly the pick of the bowlers for me. Cameron Steele is going to bowl again, and it's just played defensively back down the pitch by Battleman on 4. Allison having joined him, 205 for 7.
Yeah, and he's just had great control today, hasn't he, Cameron Steele? Yeah. And they haven't been able to pick him.
No. Bowling now from this river end, previously from the Hayes close end, and there is a nice stroke there, just going for the dab sweep and scampering through for the single down to short fine leg. But the boundaries have rather dried up, and Surrey did well to break that partnership and get rid of both of the participants in quick order in the 60s.
They did indeed. I thought Webster played very nicely.
206 for 7.
Thane had his moments, didn't he? But he does hit a long ball.
Yeah, and Reece, who's on your side of the argument, I mentioned my view is you probably start at 10:42 hour 10-minute sessions, and then the extra half hour. That gives you 7 hours in a day to bowl 14 overs an hour. that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And basically Reece saying you've got 6.5 hours at present to bowl the overs, so you only have to maintain an over rate of 13.8, and that's if you count the extra half hour, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But I'd go a little bit further than that. I'd have 2 hour 10-minute sessions to take account of DRS and all that sort of thing. And you can start at 10:40. Drainage is good enough these days. This is played off the back foot up into the covers, and there's no run. Particularly if we're going to have test matches in June and July, not in August or September.
My point is, in the modern world, you should be able to do it anyway, and you can take out a lot of the rubbish that goes on around it at times. That is nothing to do with the players. It's just all the history on it.
No, that's right. Allison on strike at 206 for 7. We're in the 43rd, and that just tickled round the corner. But the runs have dried up here. Surrey have got a nice grip on proceedings at the moment as Verdi fields at short final leg. 206 for 7. At one point I was thinking 280, pushing 300 mark, but that's completely out of the equation now.
Yeah, I think Surrey will be pleased with that. They'll just want to finish this off now.
Yeah.
Surrey.
43rd over. So that's hit back to the bowler. It's a drop caught ball. It was a tough chance because it was firmly hit by Allison. He was taking it round about chest height, had to react very quickly, spilled it, hit it over the bar if you like there, did steal, but good attempt, but couldn't hold on to it. 207 for 7.
I think he'll just be glad he's still got his teeth.
Yes.
Cameron Steele.
It was an awkward height that, wasn't it, for the attempted caught and bowled.
It was hit pretty firmly back at him.
Indeed.
It's a good pitch this though.
Yep.
It is a good pitch.
If obviously there's no Rory Burns, who I think would probably very much eat up a pitch like this, but of course he not quite stretched it off. He had to be helped off in the warm-up with what looked like an ankle injury. Nice bit of turn there from the leg spinner, and a play and a miss from Allison, the low-order batsman, not able to read Cameron Steele at the moment. 207 for 7. He's 1 for 19 with 1 ball left of his 8th. Those figures don't flatter him. This is always a nice piece of bowling, very sharp spin there. And again, Allison backing away, looking for the cut shot, and then finding the ball absolutely chasing him. Lovely piece of bowling. It was the googly there, wasn't it? And it absolutely chased him and left him with no room at all at the end. 43 overs gone, just a single off the over. I think there was a wide actually there, which I must have missed.
Down the leg side.
Yeah, that was down the leg side. So it's 207 for 7, and Buttleman 5, Allison 0. But Essex not going anywhere very quickly at the moment.
Yeah, that was a lovely googly again from Cameron Steele. He's just had it on a piece of string today. He really has. And that 19, 10 of those came off 2 balls. So he's bowled really nicely today. It's Amar Verdi to bowl this, the 44th over, from the Hayes close end of the ground. He's over the wicket. Swing and a miss again. Just looking to cut that was Buttleman. Beats the outside edge, taken by Blake, who's kept beautifully today, has Blake. It's a good catch to get rid of Webster as well off Conor McCurr as Buttleman waits, and then he's looking to work this leg side, and there's big shout. He's bowled him. Absolutely bowled him neck and crop. There was a big shout there from Amar Verdi, but Buttleman's played all round that. And that's just hit the top of the stumps, and Buttleman looks back. He looks utterly bamboozled. Nice bit of bowling that from Amar Verdi. Buttleman's gone, and it's 207 for 8. But yeah, the one thing you would say is the spinners have had a really nice day on this pitch, because there is a little bit of turn and bounce, but that's nicely bowled by Amar Verdi, and Buttleman's just played all round that, and that's clipped the top of his off stump. Verdi with a guttural roar, and then sort of ran off and realised it had bowled Buttleman. But a good wicket again for Surrey. 207 for 8, and that will bring out Jamal Richards.
Yeah, worth mentioning, of course, that no Wesley today. Now, he has bowled quite a lot in this competition, and no Harmer. So they had earlier a line-up in the competition which included both, which means that on pitches offering a little bit of turn, they actually had plenty of options. They got slightly fewer today, so that could be interesting as time goes on.
I'll tell you what, Harmer would have enjoyed this, wouldn't he?
Yes, I'm surprised.
Blimey.
Make himself available.
Oh dear.
Chris just making the point about the fact that the players, if they feel they don't have to bowl 19 overs a day, they won't.
Exactly.
That's a good point, Chris.
Absolutely. And look, I'm not saying anything about the players, although they will get away with what they can, understandably. But if you went through a day of test match cricket, the amount of stoppages that aren't needed, and they take so long.
Yes.
They take, you look up and they're just players standing around
this
doing
is why
nothing.
I think we should have 2 hour 10 or 2 hour 15
So
sessions to
that's
take into
my
account.
point.
Yeah,
that's
take into
my
account
point.
those delays.
That's my point. But everybody's got a job now, haven't they? So they've got to be seen to be doing it. As Amar Verdi coming in over the wicket to Jamal Richards, and just waiting for the field to settle down is the right-handed Richards. So 207 for 8, and Verdi's into Richards, and Richards turns this leg side, and there is no run. But as I say, I think Surrey will be very pleased with this.
Yeah.
I think that they had to basically bowl first due to the injury to Rory Burns. It was all a bit of a muddle. Suddenly Dom Sibley was in charge, but they've done a really good job out there today as Verdi's in, and forward goes Richards and turns this one down towards long on, and they will pick up a single. Richards is off the mark, and that brings back onto strike Ben Allison.
Yes, I was reading on the Surrey website, just quoted it while you were off air, that young Krish Patel's been with the Surrey youth system for since I think 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, he's an under 18, he's part of the academy, gets a debut. As over the wicket comes Verdi, and Allison whips it leg side, and it's well fielded by Cameron Still. Got most of himself behind that. It's been a good over this from Amar Verdi. He's taken 3 for 32 today as Verdi. And again, Elam, as I was saying, was very impressive in his first bowl for Surrey today. As Verdi's in quicker, and this is turned by Allison off the stumps down towards short fine, and Moriarty slides, but it gets underneath him, and they'll get back for 2 here. So 2 more to the total, but a good over from Amar Verdi. Gets the wicket a Buttleman. Allison has 2, Richards has 1, and Essex with 6 of their 50 remaining are 210 for 8.
Yes, and Mike in North London mentions, of course, that great West Indian pace quartet, but didn't rattle through the overs at a great rate, but people tended to make, such was the quality of the bowling and the tension between the deliveries, that people didn't make too much an issue of that.
I was thinking about this when I was stood on the balcony as well, and I was thinking actually how much of the histrionics was involved, not from the players, but we know what goes on now. We know how it works, and everything just takes so long.
Yes.
Everything takes so long.
It does.
And if the players are able to get a new pair of gloves after 3 overs, every 3 overs, they're going to do it.
210 for 8. There's a slip in. Lovely piece of bowling. That's the leg break from Steele, which beats Richards, the new batsman outside the off stump. And basically, Essex haven't laid a bat on Steele today. Thane, who did actually go on to score very nicely, only looked comfortable really once Steele had to come out of the attack to have a break, because that's driven away nicely through the mid-off gap. Been a really top-class performance from him, and they get a single there, so at least Richards gets himself off strike. He's on 2, Allison 2, 211 for 8, but he's bowled beautifully.
A cynical man would sort of say, having done a bit of IPL now, does give you a bit more chance to have adverts as well, but that's only what a cynical man would say, Nick Gledhill.
Absolutely. Steele bowls, and this is played away up towards deep mid-wicket for a single. Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing how long the innings take in the 50-over World Cup.
We'll be there for weeks. Because anything like the IPL, which now takes about 4.5 hours, we'll be there for weeks. The first game might take a week.
212 for 8. Allison 3 with that single, and now Steele bowls to Richards. Oh, it's a beautiful turning leg break, which gets some bounce as well, and nicely collected by Blake.
So spin options in this Essex side?
So less than there would have been earlier on in the competition. So you're looking obviously at Aaron Nijar principally, and Bo Webster, who also bowls seam. This is driven away off the back foot up towards long on. That's a better looking shot, and another single onto the total, but it's really only singles at the moment. Essex struggling to make much headway, particularly against Steele, but just generally since the breaking of that partnership they've really struggled for momentum. 213 for 8, and Richards has gone to 3. Talking of the great West Indies side, surname of Richards, as this is a turning delivery again. Lovely piece of bowling And as I say, they're not really laying a bat on Steele. We've only got 1 over to go, but 1 for 22 off 9 doesn't flatter him at all. Birdie's 3 for 34 from 6, and 213 for 8 with Allison and Richards 3 apiece.
Anybody else could talk themselves into bowling a bit of spin?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see actually, because those would be the two that I'm expecting. It's a slightly more seam-orientated attack than we've had on occasions, but it'll be interesting to see what Essex do with their bowling, because of course Wesley not playing. Now Nick Brown can bowl a bit of mean leg spin, but I don't think we're going to see that necessarily.
So it's Amar Verdi to bowl the 46th over from the Hayes close end. Richards on strike, down the pitch he goes. He's not to the pitch of that, but he swings it leg side. He's got a fair amount of bat on it. He'll get a couple. Ben Geddes has had a very busy afternoon sweeping on the boundary. There's so much space over there on the leg side towards the flats, and he's had to patrol most of that on his own today as Ben Geddes. So he's done some steps today as Verdi is in. Richards drives him straight down the ground, and they'll get a single. 1 more to the total. Jamal Richards will move on to 6, and Essex move on to 216.
I mean, just to illustrate that point about Wesley not playing, now Harmer didn't play against Kent either, and Wesley bowled 7 overs at Canterbury in that game, so they're taking out, basically 7 overs of spin. So that could be quite significant, but we shall see what the impact is later on.
Yes, indeed. Surrey losing their captain before the game in Rory Burns, so someone will have to bat at 3. I'd expect Geddes sort of just to bump into 3. Sibley and Patel will open as Verdi is in, and that turns at Allison. He's driven over the top of that. He's gone past his inside edge. How that didn't bowl him. But again, it's turn for Verdi. Seems to be turning more and more as this game goes on. By 5 o'clock it could be going square, as in comes Verdi once again, and that's quicker, and Allison's backed away, tried to punch it into the offside. Sibley gets round to do the fielding, and there is no run.
So a qualification at stake. Well, Simon Harmer would have played anyway, but he's certainly looking to substitute himself into the game.
He's taken one look at this. Yes, please. I'll have a little go on this.
Of course, Simon Harmer may well, with 2 games here, of course, in the run-in.
So Harmer hasn't got a 100 contract.
No, this could be we've got a few subjects I was going to raise in my second innings, but one I did mention him at Southampton was, you still think for his batting alone, actually, his adaptability in the short form.
As in comes Verdi, and this is punched off the back foot by Allison, down the ground towards long off. He'll get a single. I just assumed he had one. 1 more to the total, 1 more to Allison, but Surrey will just be happy if there are no boundaries conceded from here. 1 ball to go of the 46th over. I just assumed Harmer would be a pick.
Yeah, but as I say, you would have thought that the thing that would really have counted in his favour is his proven ability in the short form with the bat, to go obviously with his renowned bowling, but it hasn't yet been enough, unless he doesn't want to play it, of course.
Must be some good players in the 100. Looking to drive is Richards. Well, there is a single there, but he's decided against it. And round goes Amar Verdi to do the fielding with his boots. Tidy over again from Verdi. Just 4 to go. And Essex find themselves 217 for 8.
It should be remembered, of course, that in the first season of the 100, there was a South African tour, which the test matches started halfway through the 100, if I remember rightly. And Simon Harmer was, of course, in that team, wasn't he? So I'm pretty sure that was the 2021 summer, if memory serves me right.
As I say, there must be some good players in the 100, or maybe he just didn't fancy it.
So Steele's going to bowl his final over, and it's 217 for 8. He comes into bowl. What's an attempted big swing down the ground? It goes in the entirely opposite direction than was intended. But Allison is going to get a fortuitous single. It's gone down to short third man.
It's like Shane Warne, this, from Cameron Steele, isn't it?
He's bowling very nicely. He would have, I think, troubled some better batsmen or more experienced batsmen than those that Essex obviously at times had in facing him, but he's bowled very well indeed. Still, in terms of a championship side,
well, he'll be there or there in the squad, definitely.
suppose with Rory Byrne, because he's a decent batter as well, so obviously Rory Byrne potentially
they'll be keeping their fingers crossed that it's nothing too serious for the captain.
218 for it. Might just be a badly twisted ankle, nothing worse. But that's lofted away down the ground by Richards, going up to long off. Possible catching chance. Just missed by the fielder, who in the end just misjudged it, and they're going to come back, or they're thinking of a third run in the end to decide to come through for it. It was always a tough chance that for Conor McCurr. In the end, didn't quite get to it, and the ball sort of went through him. And he managed to get back to prevent the fourth run, but a little bit of a fortuitous three that to Richards, who didn't quite get enough bat on that, but he's gone up to 9. Allison has 5, 221 for 8.
Yeah, and Conor McCurr did his best to get to that.
Always very tough chance, had to make quite a lot of ground. Steele bowls, and that's a big swing again from Allison, who, well, at least Richards managed to make decent contact, but Allison there, I'm afraid that was a bit of a swing, and again just beaten by the flight. 221 for 8. It's been a tough going here for the Essex batsman, and indeed the lower order now facing Steele. That's a flatter one. He goes on the pull shot. It's a rare indifferent delivery there from Steele. Allison doesn't quite manage to cash in on it as he would have hoped, because he's hit it straight so long on, but just dragged that one down a little bit on that occasion. There's Cameron Steele.
It'll be interesting for Surrey. Of course, no Pope either, due to injury.
We're getting Essex hopes up now, Mark. 222 for 8. As this is hit away down the ground. It's a big hit coming towards us. It's just over our commentary box. That is a terrific shot from Jamal Richards. I was sort of thinking he might come in ahead of Aaron Beard because of his capability of doing that. And it's why one or two people have been thinking that he might have had more of a run in the side. Now, Steele has been getting the better of the Essex batsman more or less all day, but there Richards played a magnificent shot, a lovely straight 6, and it was just over our commentary box here at the River End.
I thought it was going straight through the window at one point, but that's a lovely straight struck 6. That ball's come back, actually. I didn't think it would. I thought it was going to sort of catapult itself off the roof into the river, because it hit the roof of the commentary box, but that was a lovely straight hit.
That's the first serious shot really that we've seen since the dismissals of Thane and Webster, but it was a pretty good one. 228 for 8. He's got 15. And Steele bowls, and he hits this one away. It's a little bit of a reach to get to that. He's dragged it round, is the best description really, to deep mid-wicket for a single. But he keeps the strike, and that might not be the worst thing. The only thing is he's done himself a bit of an injury there, because he's hobbling, having played. But he had to reach for that one, and I wonder, hopefully he hasn't done himself too much harm, because I'll tell you what, his bowling will be needed later on. But a fine shot. He's gone to 16, Richards, with his efforts there, and Allison has got 6, 229 for 8, and there are 3 overs to go.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot straight down the ground. It really was. Conor McCurr is going to bowl our 48th over from the Hayes close end. So I think from a championship point of view, I don't know for fact or any of this, but I would have thought Surrey are all over a certain West Indian quick, seeing if he fancies coming back for September.
Oh, right.
Yes. It would make sense.
I saw him in that brief test series, and good to see the West Indies, by the way, doing well in the limited overs against India, but I think he was finding it tough going in that test series.
The thing at the moment is Surrey at the moment, going into September, don't have an overseas, in the fact that Tom Latham's obviously gone and Sean Abbott's gone now. So there's a gap there, and as I say, I would have thought they wouldn't mind having a certain West Indian quick back for September.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job, didn't he?
Yeah, because that Worrell Roach opening combination is pretty special. They're obviously Gus Atkinson's sort of in the one-day squad and the T20 squad, and Will Jacks, but it might present an opportunity for your likes of Ben Geddes, Ryan Patel. But as I say, that sort of the core of that side is ready to go for September. So it's going to be fascinating. It really is, because it's like a mini league, really. It is almost September.
Like if this had been a red ball, I'd describe it as a charity shield.
Yes. Here is Conor McCurr then from the Hayes close end, and he's short first up to Richards, and he's helping it off his hip into the leg side, and they will get back for 2. So that'll be 2 more to the total. So Richards doing a pretty good job here. 18 off 13. They could get to 250 here. 231 for 8.
Kent 292 for 4 with 7 overs to go. They have to win to have a chance of qualifying, and Daniel Bell-Drummond is 147 not out from 129 balls with 5 6s and 10 4s at New Close, Isle of Wight. Not sure how big that ground is. It might be that it's a perfectly gettable score, but it's a fine contribution.
Have to get there on the ferry.
Absolutely.
As over the wicket once more comes Conor McCurr. Short one, ducking underneath it is Richards. Wide's the signal. Oh, that's harsh. That is harsh.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but an extra ball for Richard to see if he can repeat and get a couple more big hits to get Essex up above 250, which give them something to work with. Notts 171 for 8, 5 overs to go against Lancashire. If Lancashire win, they'll qualify.
It's all very exciting in the other games, isn't it, for sort of qualification purposes?
Not too much for these two sides to worry about there.
As McCurr is in, Richards is forward, turning this one into the leg side. He'll get a single.
Worth mentioning that Somerset are having a better day. They've had another dreadfully difficult time in this competition with some very big scores against them. But Andy Umeed opening the batting, 156 not out, and they're 302 for 3 in the 47th over against Derbyshire. They can't qualify, but that'll cheer up our correspondent, Mr. Gibson, who's been covering Somerset, not enjoying it too much in this competition.
Over the wicket comes McCurr. Allison's down the pitch, squirts off a thickish outside edge as he's looking to hit that straight down the ground. They'll get a single out there towards the sweeper on the cover boundary rope. One more to the total, one more to Allison. Richards comes back onto strike. As I say, at this stage, as long as it's not boundaries, as a bowling side you're not too fussed. Although of course if they hit 6 threes in an over you'd be a bit annoyed, but boundaries are the key here for Essex. Conor McCurr comes in over the wicket and swinging off the back foot is Richards. He's hit that pretty firmly. Oh, that's brilliant from Luke Griffiths. What a bit of fielding that is from Luke Griffiths. Dive full length to his right, got a good hand on it in front of the pavilion. They managed to get to his feet, chase it back. He saved a couple of runs there, did Luke Griffiths. Brilliant bit of work, 236 for 8.
We're seeing enough from Richards to sort of back up the thoughts. You know, he obviously wasn't selected in some of the earlier games. I'm slightly surprised to say Beard came in ahead of him, but showing a bit of enterprise here.
He is. He's certainly got a good eye.
He does.
As over the wicket goes Conor McCurr. Swinging again is Richards. Oh, he's got enough of this to beat Cameron Steele, and Griffiths again does brilliantly well. Sprints round, dives, and gets the ball in front of the boundary rope. He's saved 4 now in this over, as Luke Griffiths saved another couple there. Terrific work from the young man. He's a tall lad, so he's got long arms and long legs, but he's done very well to get round to that. Dive full length and get a hand to it. Very well fielded that from Luke Griffiths. Conor McCurr with the last ball of the over comes into Richards, short ball, and he's just helping this down towards third man, and he will get a single off that last ball of the over, so he'll keep the strike. 2 to go then for Essex, and they are 238 for 8.
And yeah, the big game in the other group really is Gloucestershire-Durham, because if Gloucestershire, Worcestershire and Warwickshire are already qualified, but if Gloucestershire can beat Durham, they will get the home quarter-final at Worcestershire's expense, and Durham are 217 for 5 in the 41st over in that one. But here, well, it's been an enjoyable innings. Obviously a century partnership in the middle of it, Webster and Thane. Either side, the Surrey bowling has very much been on top, particularly the spin of Cameron Steele. We're going to see Griffiths come back for one further over.
Yeah, bit of pressure on Luke Griffiths here, the penultimate over.
And he's bowling at Richards as well.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting to see if one youngster can get the better of the other here. Which will it be?
How old is young Mr. Richards?
I shall look it up. I don't know off the top of my head, but I shall look it up. A lot of 18, 19-year-olds in this competition, of course, and a few younger than that, of course.
Oh, it's great to see them all playing. I've really enjoyed this game.
It is the plus side of this competition, being as the undercard of the 100. It gives people a chance, and it gives them a gateway into Well, either into the T20 or the Championship, but of course it's not like, neither are completely like for like. That's the point. He's 19, Jamal Richards. 19 and a half, almost exactly 19 and a half. And here is Griffiths to bowl to his senior, if you like, and that's hit uppishly. It's a good ball. It's hit in the air. It could fall between two fielders. It was a complete miscue that from Richards, but he got away with it. He was looking to try and find our commentary box again, but it skied away off a leading edge, square into the offside, and fell between two fielders. And he's got 3 for 1. But it's still been an entertaining knock. This
It really has
20 for 25, and it's 240 for 8 in the 49th. Essex are setting at least a working total here, if nothing else.
Well, one thing he does have is a brilliant eye.
So here is Griffiths again. Bowls, and that's played. Oh, that's nicely played because it's gone over on the bounce of the head of short third man. There was a touch of bad luck there for the fielder, Dan Moriarty, because he thought he had that at short third man, and it's literally taken an awkward bounce, gone over his head, and gone away down to the boundary. He won't want to suffer that again too often. Doesn't often happen like that, but yeah, bit of an awkward bounce and defeated him. And it's gone away for 4 useful runs at this stage. 244 for 8, Allison 11.
Yep. Dan Moriarty did his level best there. Sort of hung in the air, but it was always getting past him. Steele and Sibley are trying to work this out for Luke Griffiths. What they had him in his first spell doing was sort of bowling length and getting the batters to hit down the ground. But they sort of know now that's exactly what Allison and Richards in particular, he'll be eyeing up the short straight boundaries. Now the biggest boundary he's got to defend is through the offside.
Batsman making Griffiths wait here a little bit. Adjustment in the field. Griffiths bowls and Allison skies this one. It could be a catch for the keeper, the bowler, all short third man, and it falls right between the three of them in the end. It was claimed as a catch by Blake, but he never quite got to it. I don't know if anybody else would have got to it, be fair, and they've scampered through for a single. It's a lively end to this innings. In fact, I think they've come back for 2 there.
They have.
It was up there long enough. It was up there long enough. It did get back for 2, so 246 for 8. Yes, that was an awkward one. In the end, I don't think any of the other fielders would have got to it, Mark, so it was a reasonable call by Blake as the man with the gloves.
Absolutely. And it's not bad bowling this by Griffiths at all.
No, he's doing what a lot of miscues. No one's middling him. And he might be close to a wicket here. Let's see. He's on 0 for 28 in 4.5 overs. Bright sunshine at Chelmsford. Oh, a full toss and a high full toss. Hit away, caught at the mid-wicket. Will it be a no ball? It is. And probably rightly so.
Yeah, above waist high, that one.
Tell you what, it's a lively end to this innings.
It really is.
A high full toss, pulled and caught at deep mid-wicket, but a no ball free hit.
Yeah, above waist high. Allison didn't really get hold of it.
No.
It was caught, but it's a no ball.
And Richards is on strike.
Yep.
Nothing done there because so they keep the 1 because obviously the ball was in the air plus the no ball. So it's now 249 for 8, and here's Griffiths to bowl to Richards, and Richards hits this in the air but safe, and it goes away down towards wide third man. Deep cover also chasing after that. They come back for 2 runs. This is enterprising batting from these two. As I say, Richards possibly could have come in a little bit higher in the order because Essex needed this momentum, and he has particularly helped to inject it. 27 from 19 balls. Allison has faced the same for 14, but he's played his part in this partnership, which has taken Essex to 251 for 8 with an over and 2 balls to go, as this is another full-length delivery. It's I think it's in the end a pretty good execution. He was looking to try and get a Yorker in there. It went by outside the off stump, but it's beaten the attempted aggressive shot there from Richards, and it's a dot ball. 251 for 8.
Yeah, just got it under the bat, didn't he? But again, he's bowling length, which is what he wants here. Sibley from Griffiths. It's not been a bad over this.
Griffiths up to the wicket and bowls, and Richards hits this past him. It's a powerful shot that down the ground. A flat batted pull. There is a man down there, but that was well hit. A really firm strike that from Richards, who is certainly backing up his supporters, and there have been a few online thinking, very much worth his place in this side. He's played very well here in this cameo. He's going to have to bowl well as well later on. 252 for 8, and Allison 14, Richards 28, and there's 1 over to go. I say it's a working total for Essex on a good pitch.
Yeah, it's been a good innings this from Richards. It's just what Essex needed. And Conor McCurr it will be to bowl the final over. I've really enjoyed this. This sort of spin-based Surrey attack. McCurr's bowled nicely. Griffiths has done his job. And I think it's going to be a very interesting chase. I think this will be I always thought this could be a really good game of cricket because, for both sides, as I say, it's a free hit in many ways. There's nothing really riding on this game. So it's going to be a very interesting run chase.
Probably what poor Rory Burns is thinking, isn't
well, absolutely.
Just stayed at home.
Isn't life cruel at times? As Conor McCurr then, down the slope from the Hayes Close end, final over of the innings, and that's tucked away by Richards, out towards deep backward square. Off goes Ryan Patel to do the fielding, and they will pick up 2. So 2 more to Richards. He moves on to 30.
Thanks for the emails on the over 8. We'll have a couple more topics for you in the second innings, and just one other email we'll catch up on, Jerry, relating to the partnership between Dan Lawrence and Doug Bracewell at Blackpool, and you said it was an astonishing display of batting, 90 runs coming in the last 5 overs, all Essex declared, and you had the pleasure of meeting Dick Davis as well. In fact, Dick's here as well.
You can't have a better day
really
than that,
capped
can
it all
you?
off. Thank you very much, Jerry. In Blackpool.
As in over the wicket once again comes McCurr. That's beaten the attempted shot by Richards. It's very well stopped by Blake going down the leg side. It'll be a bye. They've scrambled a single. So that'll be 1 more to the total, taking every run that's on offer. 4 balls to go. Listen, I'd go all the way to Blackpool just to meet Dick Davis.
Yes.
Would you not, Nick Glen Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's slightly easier to do it here, but
yes, that's true. That's true.
No, tell you what, Essex have got a heck of a good record away at Lancashire. It's an odd fixture, that. It's an away banker in the Championship. Lancashire always look the better side here, but Essex always win up there.
In over the wicket comes McCurr. This is swung leg side by Allison. Geddes, is he going to get to that? Brilliant from Ben Geddes. Sprints round, dives, gets it inside the rope. Surrey have been really good in the outfield, but 50 partnership that is. Very good for the 9th wicket. And it's got Essex past the 250. 257 for 8. Allison is on to 16. Richards has 30 of this 50 partnership.
Yeah, and he's made a big difference, hasn't he, Mark? I mentioned at one point when Essex were going nowhere in those few overs after the dismissals of Webster and Thane, and it's Richards primarily who's provided that injection.
Yep. Had his moments of luck, but he struck the ball very firmly. Allison waits again as McCurr comes over the wicket to him, and Allison's down the pitch, slapping this one up towards Verdi at mid-off. Just a single. That'll be 1 more to the total, so 2 balls to go for Essex. Having been stuck in by Surrey, they were in trouble, and then a very good partnership between Webster and Thane got them back on track, and now this partnership for the 9th wicket between Allison and Richards. 2 balls to go.
It's got the crowd buzzing as well, this partnership.
It has. It's a good crowd today as well.
Yeah, it's really built up since the start.
As in over the wicket goes McCurr, and Richards, good shot, backs away, punches into the offside, just a single, followed by McCurr. So just the 1 ball to go. Richards 31 not out, 259 for 8. And Allison will be on strike for the final delivery. It's a lovely afternoon now as well, and we're way ahead of time because the cut-off point was 2:30. So because of all the spin, it means this first innings will finish early. And half an hour break, isn't it, in the intervals?
Yeah.
McCurr is in to Allison. Last ball of the innings. Top edge from Allison. He'll go here. It should be caught by Cameron Steele. It will be caught by Cameron Steele. Well bowled Conor McCurr. And Conor McCurr finishes with 4 for 55 there. And that means Essex finish on 259 for 9. And it means Surrey will need 260 to win.
And we will make the most of our half-hour break and leave you in just a moment. I just wanted to mention Richards. He's played 3 previous games in the competition, and this season 7-2 and 0 in that order. But today he showed what he's about, 31 not out, and it's given Essex a bit of hope here. So we'll be back with you in half an hour to see if Surrey can get this 260 to get their second win, or can Essex get their second win in this season's Metro Bank One Day Cup.
Just going to go and locate my dear Laura, who's somewhere in the ground. Hello, dear. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Ambassador Cruise Line.
Enjoy yourself on a premium value cruise. Enjoy yourself. We're the one to choose.
Endless fun. There's amazing shows to see.
Enjoy yourself.